Aita for moving back home after my husband left me even though I'm pregnant. I've been getting cruel messages from my ex, his family, and our friends for the past few days. My soon-to-be ex-husband Levi, 33M, and I, 28F, have been together for a decade. Married for 5 years. I'm currently pregnant with our first baby, and due next month. After I graduated, I moved back to his hometown, a major city on the West Coast, with him. I'm from a bigger city in the Midwest, but loved living out there. I thought we were happy. We planned our baby and were so excited. But a few weeks ago, he told me he was going to file for divorce. He said he didn't want to be tied down anymore. He was still young and needed to live his life, etc. He said there was nobody else, but I know since then he's been seeing someone. He wanted me to move out, but this is my house too. I put down the down payment even. So he's been staying with his friend Louis. I can't afford to live here on my own while maintaining my lifestyle. Sure, I could make it work, but it wouldn't be the kind of lifestyle I'd want to live, especially with a baby. I make really good money even, but it's so expensive. I have friends for sure, but not the support system he does. No family here, so I've decided to move back home. And luckily, my company has a location in my hometown, so I was able to keep my job. My parents have been so supportive. They're divorced and hate one another, but are now combined in their hatred of Levi, which is interesting to see. They've secured me a nice rental home in my city and refuse to let me pay them back, saying I need to save for buy my next house. They're paying for my divorce lawyer and my co-pays at my new doctor here. Their paying said I'm doing the right thing for my baby and are happy to help. My mom is about to retire and even wants to watch my baby while I work after my maternity leave. So it's been an ideal situation for me. Levi is furious. He's claiming that I moved to get back at him, and I'm going to try to keep him out of our baby's life. I explained very clearly that I couldn't afford to be a single mom in San Diego, but he doesn't believe me. He's told everyone I moved back to get the upper hand on custody. That's not why I moved, but it's definitely a plus. His job doesn't have any locations here, and they won't keep him if he moves. He could get another job here, of course, but he says that's too much to ask of him. I told him I'd be going for child support once the baby is born, and he told me I needed to make up my mind. Could he be a dad or no? I told him he was going to be a dad regardless, and if he doesn't want to move here, then he would be a dad by paying child support. I don't think I'm the asshole. I think I'm doing what I have to do. But IDK what I'm supposed to say to all these people texting and calling me, and telling me I'm keeping Levi's baby from him. Info from comments: pregnancy, 7 months, current place. Southern California, San Diego City, moving to. Midwest info about other girl, she's like 38, I know, not old. But she knew he was married, BC, they worked together. She congratulated me on my pregnancy and has 3 kids that she doesn't even have full custody of, I found out. Relevant comments: commenter 1, NTA, more than likely. The ones bugging you don't know the truth of the situation, reply. I mean, they know he is divorcing me, but they think I'm being petty, and I should just scale back my lifestyle so I can afford to stay in California. Why should I scale back my hobbies, travel, and savings just to convenience him? Commenter 2, first off, congratulations on your baby. Second, don't respond to those stupid texts. You can block those numbers. If he sends any hateful texts, especially now with the baby, you can save those and use it in court if he ever tries to go after you. What you need is a peaceful time before delivery and stress-free postpartum lifestyle. And go for child support. He's the one who wanted to leave for a free lifestyle. Now he's got it. Reply, oh, I'm going for full child support, done worry lol. It would be one thing if this was a one-night stand thing, but we planned our baby, and he's not getting out of supporting it. Commenter 3. NTA. He created this situation, and now he can walk the path he's chosen. He put you in a situation where you would not have been able to make it. And now you have a support system. He can go kick rocks. How much of a father he is depends on him, and how often he will visit his child. But tell him you understand if he's young and needs to live his life. As for anyone sending you negative messages, just block them. It's that simple. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You don't have to discuss anything with them. Just block them and be done. Reply, I have blocked some of them, but it doesn't mean that I've forgotten what they said and was just wondering if they were right. Commenter 4. Well, rest assured. They are not right. They only know what he has told them. I wonder if they even know about his side piece. Do they know he left you for someone else during your pregnancy? If not, I might be tempted to unblock them long enough to inform them of that little tidbit, and then block them again. Reply, they know we planned on getting pregnant, and it even took us a few months, and that he has a new girlfriend, so I guess they do. I guess they don't care. Commenter 5, ESH him for being so scummy. You being selfish and honest with yourself, you could live in California, does not have to be San Diego, and ensure your kid has a dad. Commenter 6, apparently a hugely unpopular opinion, but I'm surprised it's not a little more represented in the thread. What OP has done would be illegal if the baby had been born already. I'm reminded of this case, where the father ended up getting custody of the baby. I think OP has done a very silly thing, but potentially to herself. And she needs to hope that her ex was telling the truth, that he is only interested in freedom, and isn't going to tie her up in court battles for years to come. If he truly didn't want to be involved, OP could have guaranteed that in writing, and moved unencumbered without fear of litigation. Her being secretive suggests she knew he would want a relationship with the baby. In which case, she's denied the baby a relationship with its father, and set herself up for a lengthy and expensive, more expensive than simply living in CA. Legal battle reply, sure it would be illegal if the baby was born, and if I was a goat I would have hooves. But it has not, and I am not, so none of that matters. And I have no interest in helping my ex out. Going forward, I'm only doing things for myself and my baby. I have no intention of allowing him to sign away his rights or get out of child support. If he wants to live a free lifestyle with a new woman, I won't stop him, but he will have to calculate the child support he'll owe into his budget. I didn't make the choices that lead to all of this. I'm only responding to them with ways that will benefit me the most. Glad I could clear things up for you. Update. Aita for moving back home after my husband left me even though I'm pregnant. So first off, I thought I was clear in my first post, but the amount of helpful comments who skipped over the following info was driving me insane. I have already moved back to the Midwest, and I already have a lawyer, so no need to tell me to move before my baby is born or yell at me to get a lawyer. I have done both. A few weeks after moving out, he had filed for divorce in California. Since I was moving and obtaining a lawyer, I had not yet responded. I have an obgyn here in my hometown and am set up to give birth here. I have legal advice from a professional. My ex Levi came to my place like the day after my post. I hadn't been responding to him or his friends, family, and had just muted their numbers. I got home and he was talking to my new neighbor who I haven't met yet. I wanted him to stop, so I let him come inside to talk, but also texted my parents what was going on. Basically, he said everything had been a mistake. He didn't think everything through enough, and that he had withdrawn his divorce petition. He said he was fine living in my hometown. He'd need time to find a job but could work on selling the house back west in the meantime, and work remote until he found a new job. Kind of acting like everything was fine? Very strange though, not like he was on drugs. I've seen him on drugs, lol, it's been years, but it wasn't that, I don't know. By the time my dad got there, I was very upset and not thinking clearly. His wife drove me to their house and he stayed there with Levi for a bit and got him to leave, and he's been at my mom's and won't leave town. I don't want to get too into it. My lawyer was able to confirm he sort of withdrew the petition, but it was either incomplete or incorrect. His behavior has been odd, yes. I told them I'm not talking to him unless he gets evaluated, and I don't know if my mom wore him down or what, but he agreed and has been at the hospital all day. My mom's boyfriend has been through a lot of this with his own son and was able to get him into a good hospital, and I hope we know something soon. To be honest, I'm exhausted and overwhelmed. I feel bad saying this, but I don't want to be dealing with this right now. I have so much going on and had already kind of divorced him and started my life as a single mom in my head. I'm not saying I'm going to stay with him even if this is a health thing. He has crossed so many boundaries and hurt me so bad in just 2 months. But I did make a vow that I take seriously. And before all of this, if I told you he'd done any of this, you'd think I was insane. So I'm not really sure why I'm posting an update. I'm not religious, but I grew up Catholic. And maybe someone who is, reads this and can pray for us, I guess. They'd have a more direct line to the big guy than me right now. I'm not sure what I'd pray for. If he's fine, then he's just an asshole and I am fine divorcing him. But if it's something more, I'm so overwhelmed at the thought of taking care of both him and a newborn. But it would mean he hasn't been deceiving me all these years. Sorry, it's not the best update. Edit. I've gotten a few comments, and also want to say this. I have his phone. I now know for a fact the woman he was seeing was not the woman I thought. He didn't meet that woman until after he'd filed for divorce and that she still wants to be with him. I'm not saying this changes anything, but people kept bringing her up. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how did he get your address? That's not good. Reply, I gave him my address when I moved. He was an asshole, not abusive. I was never scared of him. Commenter 2. His girlfriend, who he was cheating on you with, dumped him when she found out about you and or the baby. Of course he'll pass the medical assessment because there's no test for douchiness. Reply, I don't want to get too into it. I know this isn't the case, and I have his phone though. We'll see how everything goes. He was voluntarily admitted earlier, but they haven't told me anything yet. Commenter 3, how did you get his phone? He was staying at your mom's and you are at your dad's. How do you know he doesn't have another phone? Any way you slice it, you seem to be such a decent person. I am wishing the best for you and your baby, whatever you decide. Reply. They gave it to me after he was admitted. I don't know if he has another phone, I guess, but everything seems to be on here. Commenter 4. However everything goes and whatever you decide, I want to wish the best for you and your baby. You've made all the right moves. Considering the circumstances, at this point, it's all about you and the baby staying safe and healthy. Reply, thank you, I agree. I know everyone is mad I still care about him. But it's about my baby, and honestly, I think the best thing for baby is having a healthy dad. Even if he's an asshole. If something is wrong, I might still leave him. But I'd be supportive of him getting better, and so would my family. I don't even know what I want to happen. Stories number 2, Tifu, by realizing I'm not a wimp. Just allergic and could have died. So I'm a 29-year-old guy from a Mexican family where if a food doesn't make you sweat, it's not a real meal. I've always been the odd one out. My tolerance for spice is basically 0, and I've accepted my role as the family lightweight. My thing has always been salsa verde. Every single time I ate it, my lips would get a little puffy and tingly. It wasn't like scary swollen, but it was noticeable. I just thought, okay, cool. This is what a mild spice feels like for a wimp like me. It was my normal. I'd just take a Benadryl if it felt a bit more intense than usual and get on with my day. The big plot twist happened last Sunday at a family BBQ. We're all eating tacos, and I slather on the salsa verde within a few minutes. I feel the familiar puff-up starting. I nudged my sister and said, whoa, this green salsa has a real kick today. My lip is already getting fat. She looked at my mouth, then back at the salsa and started laughing. Dude, that's not a kick. Your lip is actually swelling. Mom didn't put any chilies in that. It's just the tomatillo and onion stuff. The whole table got quiet and just stared at my face. My mom's eyes got huge, mijo, she said. That's not spice. You're allergic. You've been having a reaction this whole time and just calling it spicy. It finally clicked. For 29 years, I thought my puffy lip was a sign of my weak constitution. Turns out my body was just having a low-key allergic meltdown to a totally normal ingredient. I wasn't a wimp. I was just unknowingly dosing myself with an allergen and treating it with Benadryl. So yeah, I'm not bad with spice. I'm just allergic to the family's safe sauce. I've got an appointment to figure out what exactly hates me. But for now, the jokes at my expense are absolutely relentless. TLDR, for my whole life, I thought getting a puffy lip from salsa verde was a normal reaction to mild spice. My family finally figured out I'm just allergic. I've been casually treating my allergic reactions with Benadryl thinking I was just spice intolerant. I fear I could have died at some point if not for the Benadryl. Comments. Commenter 1. I never liked raw apples or carrots. They made my mouth itchy, but somehow boiled ones were okay. Turns out there's allergens in raw ones which are gone from cooked ones. Commenter 2. I was a bit worried you'd found out you're actually allergic after you had had a serious reaction and had to go to a hospital. Glad you figured it out before it was an emergency. We once had some kind of a gathering at work. I think it was someone's birthday. And there was fruit. I was chatting with my colleague, eating fruit, and I said, "These kiwis look so good, but I'm not ready to deal with an itchy tongue today." And she went, "Yeah, I'm allergic too. Such a shame." My whole world just flipped in that moment. Food doesn't just make your tongue itchy. If it does, you're allergic and shouldn't have it. That time I ate a lot of walnuts as a kid and my tongue got so swollen and itchy it hurt. It was an allergy. I've made it my mission to mention this story anytime it's at least hardly relevant to spread awareness. At least 2 people have realized they were allergic to something after my story. Commenter 3, me to my wife. Babe, why do you like mango? How is it good? Why do you want to eat something that makes your mouth and throat feel full of fire ants? Her, can you call your doctor's office and make an appointment? You're allergic to mango. And that is how I learned that it's not just other people having bad taste. Commenter 4. Know how you feel. Took me 30 years to realize not everyone's lips tingled and they got itchy from watermelon. Why? Because no one can be allergic to melons. Stories number 3, AITA for taking back my tip after the waitress humiliated me in front of everyone. Alright, this occurred a few nights ago, and I just can't believe it happened the way that it did. My partner 29F and I 32M dined out at this Italian restaurant we've been to several times. It's not highly sophisticated, but pleasant enough that you get to sit down, order wine, and have a relaxed evening. Our server, let's name her Samantha, was kind of phased throughout. She lost my drink twice, served the wrong starter, and vanished for what seemed like an eternity when it arrived time to order dessert. It wasn't the end of the world. I've worked customer service myself, and I get that hectic nights go wild, however. Service was really poor. When the check came, I paid and left a 10% cash tip, not excessive, but not nothing either. I thought it was reasonable given the circumstances. We were just standing up to leave when Samantha came over, took the cash, and said, "Seriously? This is it?" She had said it audibly. A few people at some nearby tables turned around and stared. I was taken aback. I didn't even know what to say first. Then she added, "You know, servers can't pay their rent because of people like you. If you can't tip properly, don't dine out." The restaurant became totally silent. Like sitcom silence, my girlfriend was wincing. I just remained calm and said, "Okay, sorry you feel that way," and started to leave. Then, "No kidding," she muttered. "Whatever, cheapskates." But loudly enough that it was not only for us, so I went back over, walked over to the table, took the tip, and left without another word. My girlfriend later informed me that I did fine with it, but one of my friends feels like I had overstepped by insisting on getting the tip back, that no matter what, you just leave it and move on. I feel like to be scolded and humiliated on account of a 10% tip that I actually did leave is way out of bounds. So Reddit, Aita for retrieving the tip after she yelled at us in front of everyone in the restaurant. Comments commenter 1 NTA. I would have gone a step further and called the restaurant to complain once I was home. So you're nicer than I am. Commenter 2. Did this really happen? You just said that she had the tip in her hand and she waved it in your face. Did she go back and put it on the table? I'm confused. If you work in customer service, you know that the proper procedure would be to report her to the manager. Maybe I'm missing something here. Commenter 3 info. If she had already taken and counted the money, how did you get it back? She took the money, berated you for being cheap, then put it back? Commenter 4. I don't believe the server would put the cash on the table after taking it. Very unrealistic scenario. Stories number 4. 15 months ago, my ex violently attacked me. I ignored Reddit's advice and eventually took him back. July of 2024. My husband of nearly a decade nearly killed me while blackout drunk. The comments I received from a post I made then bluntly explained what my future would be if I took him back. I am ashamed to say that I did indeed take him back, but lived apart while he went through a lot of therapy for anger and alcohol. Things were decent for about 8 months, but he quickly reverted back to heavy drinking and violent behavior. I felt utterly stuck. Lost my job, leaving me to depend on his income, lost my confidence, was abusing my anxiety medication just to deal with his outbursts. Many friends parted ways because they couldn't watch my inevitable murder. I became a shell of myself. A month ago, he lost it again, and was violent not to the extent of the first time, but still and put our child in danger. His family called the police after he injured my parents and began to throw furniture, smash anything glass, and did so in front of our 3-year-old. I ended up with glass lodged in my eye, but I am so very lucky to be alive. My child is lucky to be okay. That is my greatest shame. But shame will only hold me back from reaching my potential as both a person and mother. Everyone's comments were spot on. The love bombing, the amazing promises, seemingly changing his life for the better. But as predicted, that did not last. I am so embarrassed that I didn't heed so many genuine warnings sooner. My therapist describes it as battered wife syndrome, and for me to focus on all of the positive changes I am making for myself, my kids, and my career. In just a month, I feel like I've had a 1,000-pound brick lifted off of my shoulders. No more tiptoeing on eggshells, no more canceling plans because he's too drunk, no more popping Xanax to stand being alive, no more terrifying rants wondering if he would snap, no more running out of money before payday because he drank and smoked it. I am at the most dangerous part of my journey. He is realizing that I am not coming to his rescue, that I am truly done. This has caused him to really show who he was all along, a hateful, rage-filled man-child with the ability to cause severe harm. I think seeing my child in danger is what snapped me back to reality. I'm not fully out of danger until I move further away and get a lawyer to help me safely untangle our decade of dysfunction. But I have an extremely strong support system and 2 neighbors that are armed. He is not allowed near me or our son. I'm posting this because I see a lot of women posting about their wonderful partners becoming violent for the first time and not knowing what to do. Please, please let my words and those thoughtful folks that tried so desperately to warn me last year alert you to the danger you are truly in. It is never just once. Women are killed every day by men like this. I do not want sympathy. I want this to serve as warning to all the lovely women and men feeling stuck in an abusive situation. Don't fall for sunk cost fallacy, or he'll change. You can't afford to not have that secondary income, or your situation is different. The price I paid to keep a man that only held me back was higher than words can express. I will finally be my authentic self, and my children will thrive by having a happy, healthy, and safe mother and environment to grow. If my confession here saves just one person from this life or potentially being hurt or killed, then the embarrassment and inevitable comments that will be negative are worth it. Be safe, be happy, and live a life worth living, not just surviving. Comments. Commenter 1. My therapist describes it as battered wife syndrome, and for me to focus on all of the positive changes I'm making for myself, my kids, and my career. Yep, celebrate this. I'm not saying you're going to be playing life on easy mode, but it might kind of feel like it at times. I wish you and your child the best. Commenter 2. I am glad you were able to leave. I also went back, more than once. I honestly believe that if I'd not left the last time he'd have killed me. You are aware you are at the most dangerous stage, but please don't underestimate this. Be safe and please update us. Reply. Did you have any shared children? My biggest worry is when he inevitably gets to see our son, although supervised. What if he harms him to get me back? This man is obsessed with me. It's not love. I realize that now. I appreciate you pointing out not to underestimate this. He truly was an involved and good dad until he was drunk and fighting with everyone around him. I cannot let my guard down by thinking of the kind of dad he was while sober. Commenter 3. Hey OP, I'm glad you found the strength to leave. I'm happy you're alive for your child. Please never stop talking to women about finding the strength to leave. You don't have to share your whole story, but remember that it might be your support that gives an abused woman the strength she needs to start preparing to leave. My mom didn't make it. She managed to leave him, and we were staying with her sister while she got back on her feet. But he figured out where we were. He waited for her to be home alone and waited for the armed neighbors to leave too. He slashed all 4 tires of her car so she couldn't escape, and then he attacked. Don't rely on anyone else for your safety. Get a gardening machete to keep somewhere close to the door. Put a broomstick in the frame of any sliding glass patio doors. If you see him at your house, be ready to allow yourself to redline and defend yourself because he ain't there to talk. Please keep yourself safe. Reply, holy shit. I think your comment made the danger feel far more real. I'm so sorry. I do appreciate you taking time to relive such a horrible trauma to warn me. I have a few guns myself, but didn't feel comfortable owning any ammo, being mostly untrained and having kids around. My neighbor is going to take me to a shooting range, but I'm mostly concerned about moving to put more distance between us. Commenter 3. Reply. I figured that was the case with guns. Since you have a child in the house, I don't even recommend guns unless you're in the range often and you're regularly shooting. Because if he shows up at your house, your adrenaline is going to wreck your coordination if you haven't been practicing. For a gun to be effective, you have to be familiar enough with it that you can clear a jam quickly and keep shooting. You have to maintain them and keep them clean and oiled. 2. That's why I say to have a machete. It's hard to fuck up defending yourself with a giant 2-long knife. You don't have to get too close to an attacker to defend yourself with it. And he's not gonna just grab it out of your hand like a baseball bat. You can get one for less than $20. And even when your adrenaline kicks in, you'll know how to use it. Get one and go practice swinging it around on some overgrown bushes to get comfortable with it. Plus, people just tend to stay away from anyone carrying a machete. I've had someone immediately change their mind about messing with me. Once they saw my weapon of choice, reply, oh yeah, I'd be the one getting shot with my own gun. But I do have a machete. Great advice, thank you. The guns were my grandparents'. They haven't been used in years. I want nothing to do with a gun in this situation, but I do want to be familiar with them. It's been a while since I've taken self-defense, or shot a gun and practiced self-defense. I never fought him back because I knew I'd lose my son. My state is tough on DV for both genders, but if he showed up and attacked me, that's different. That's self-defense. Commenter 4. You have such a kind and forgiving heart. You did everything, tried everything. Put yourself back in harm to give him that chance. And it didn't change him. You know that now for sure, sweetie? You don't need to check again. Please do something for us, okay? Protect your kind heart. You're going to have to get a little tougher and protect your gentle, kind, forgiving heart. Because it wasn't safe with him. So save it for yourself and your child. And your family, you are tough. Kindness isn't weak. It is so damn hopeful and unbreakable. You had enough to forgive him once. So you can give yourself some forgiveness now. You got this. Please stay safe for your child. For you, for the future you deserve. Reply. Oh, this hit me hard. I truly poured my soul into this relationship. Went against all instincts because I thought we could be happy. I thought I could lead him to success and happiness. I've never been one to heed warnings. Expensive lessons have been learned. It's not really about me anymore. It's about protecting my eldest. Her father died and our shared child. Thank you. Stories number 5. My husband cheated on me with my own niece. 1 year later, I played a big part in raising my niece Anastasia, 23, now 24. Her mother left with another man, and her father, my brother, was an alcoholic his whole life and neglected his daughter. Sometime physically ended up hurting her. I married Ivan, who was his opposite. From a poor child, he became a successful businessman, and last year, when this mess took place, his business had almost 50 employees. Over the past months, he grew it even more. He took care of himself, wore suits, was confident, slim and tall, and a good father to our 7-year-old daughter Anastasia adored him. She was 1/6 when I got married to him, and finally we had a man in the family to control her father. He defended her. If she called in the middle of the night that her father friends are over there and she is scared, Ivan picked her up and drove her over to us. She was very vocal about how much she admires him. My husband and her father didn't get along well. My husband was fed up with picking him up from hospital, paying for the liver issues he had. Ivan also took care financially of my mother. He cheated on me several times, but I felt secure in this marriage, and he controlled this chaos of a family. Fast forward, it was revealed to me that Ivan and Anastasia have been messing around behind my back for more than a year. After or before family dinners and whenever I was not around, Anastasia changed a lot, or revealed her true face. She told me she wants my husband. She deserves him more than me. I divorced him, and very quickly he and my niece started dating officially. We weren't even divorced yet, actually. Meanwhile, my brother died. And he even tried to ask Ivan for money due to the mess. The relationship between my niece and my ex didn't last long. He started drinking too, cried in front of our daughter, and he blamed Anastasia for ruining our marriage. He turned VOI3MT with her. She was obsessed with him but ended up leaving him. Anastasia was always out of this world beautiful, and she quickly found someone else, and my husband tried his best to get her back. More than he ever tried to get me back. But their relationship was 90% a bedroom fantasy. She did everything he wanted her to do. So my therapist helped me understand this was the reason. I blamed myself now. 1 year later, all 3 of us are single. Anastasia apologized to me. And even though I still love her, I couldn't forgive her and don't want her around me. She realized who he really is, and it saddens me, but she is all alone. No friends, no family, nothing. She still reaches out from time to time. He is dating around 20-something-years-old women, and I am still in therapy. But have a good job and take care of my daughter Maggie. I found out that my mother and my brother knew all along about the affair, but no one told me. They probably feared what happened anyway. That we will divorce and no more support for them? Commenter 1. So your mother and brother knew? To me, that is the ultimate family betrayal. Your own mother preferred you be cheated on than to tell you the truth. I am sorry you have such a horrible family, and hope you can teach your daughter how to be a good person. I personally wouldn't allow my daughter around such people. You and her deserve so much more. Reply. They also betrayed her. They basically were willing to P1-nep her out. Commenter 2. I remember your posts. I'm so glad you got away from him. And also devilishly happy that your ex and Natalie didn't work out either. They both deserve everything that happens to them. Reply. Thank you. You know, I still love him. And I still love her, but I learned to leave without them. So I will try to update more often, like a journal. On my own feed, we'll create a profile with my OP name. If it also gets deleted, these days I will create a 607 or 608. Just so you know how to find it. Maybe not immediately tomorrow, but these days. Commenter 3. First mistake. He cheated on me several times, but I felt secure in this marriage. Commenter 4. What does Anya say when she tries to reach out to you till now? Does Maggie still ask about her? Does Ivan still ask about her? How is her relation with your mom? How is your relation with Ivan? How is your relation now with the mutual friends that knew about Anya's affair when they used to date officially and comment on their posts together? Do you still engage with them? How are you doing? How are you feeling? What is your status at work now? We miss you. Hope you are doing great. Reply, Ivan wants Anya back badly. But it hurts me way less than a few months ago. He bought her a very expensive necklace, like my 2 months' salary or something, and she didn't accept it. Ivan always had options. Women were giving him attention all the time. And not only due to money, he is arrogant and narcissistic. But there are plenty of women, me and my niece included, who confuse them with high confidence. And he has a kind of charm about him. Something cold, detached. No idea what. But he has charisma. So he always had options. But he wants her more than he wants me back, and I need to deal with this. They are still hooking up occasionally from what I heard. When she reaches out, she is usually crying that she has no one. She rarely calls though. Usually just texts me. She is blaming him, that he turned her against me, and we're telling her for years how much I think she is a burden, and how only he can take care of her. So Ivan and her are still in touch somehow. He took her with him over a weekend somewhere. I know this from a mutual friend that was also there. They behave like a couple. I don't really engage with any of them. Just some friends that I guess had no idea about the affair. Work is good, but we are all worried a bit. AI is taking over all our processes, and well, we know what that means on the long run. I joined a book club too. Commenter 4 reply, good luck in everything. But how come she still texts you and blame him, but still hook up with him, and travel with him, and behaving like couples while he is dating 20-year-old women? She still considers herself single? Why is she hooking up with him and using her and then cry about it? I don't get it. Reply, you remember her? She was totally unreliable. She is a pathological liar too, or maybe just manipulative. The weekend thing happened 2 months ago, so I have no fresh information. The last time I heard from her was 3 weeks ago, and she didn't mention it at all. He is dating, but maybe it's not the right word. He is messing around with them. Stories number 6. Aita for telling my entire family why I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. I broke up with my ex-girlfriend a few years ago after she shoved me while we were arguing. I hit my head and was bleeding, so it was serious, not a love tap. She refused to apologize and insisted it wasn't a big deal. I didn't tell anyone but my former therapist at the time why we broke up, both because I was embarrassed and because, when I told my therapist what happened, she told me men who claim to have been physically abused by a woman are 90% of the time lying to cover up their own abusive behavior. So I was scared to tell anyone else what happened after that. My little brother always liked my ex-girlfriend, but he was studying abroad when we broke up. He returned home in June, and since then has reconnected with my ex. I told him it made me uncomfortable, but he said I wasn't allowed to tell him who to be friends with. I decided to tell him why we broke up, because I thought there was no way he would want to stay friends with her after finding that out. He said that sounded like a petty thing to break up with someone over. I was upset by his reaction, and I distanced myself from him. The problem is that he started bringing her around the rest of the family. He asked my sister for an extra ticket to her dance recital for my ex. My sister told me she gave him the ticket, and I said it made me uncomfortable. She said she didn't think it was fair for me to tell him he can't have this friendship just because I used to date her. The rest of the family agreed. Again, I told the reason for the breakup, but the rest of my family had a much better reaction than my brother. They all agreed she couldn't come to any events, and my sister canceled the ticket. Our dad also told my brother it's fucked up for him to hang out with her knowing what she did. My brother is furious with me. He said I am controlling and manipulative. I said I have the right to talk about my past experience with my family. He said that would be true if I did it for any other reason than trying to control his actions. He said I'm trying to manipulate him into not being friends with her, and that's controlling, and I am a dick for that. Part of me thinks that's not fair, because I'm the one who was wronged. Part of me sees his point. Because, yeah, I never would have told them if not for him. Now I don't know how to feel about the situation. Comments. Commenter 1. Your brother sounds like a fucking idiot. Commenter 2. NTA, and I'm so happy your family outside your brother is taking this seriously. Reply. We're all pretty big opponents of physical violence, which is why my brother's behavior is so weird. Commenter 3. Your brother is trying to get with her, and you have now made that socially unacceptable. NTA. But your brother sure is. Commenter 4. Your bro wanna fuck ya ex for sure. Stories number 7. Wedding day of coordinator canceled the day before our wedding. We got married in the afternoon of Saturday 9/13. In the early morning of Friday 9/12, our day of coordinator sent an email that she was canceling her event management service due to an unforeseen personal matter. Most of what was listed as services in the original contract didn't happen. because they were in-person services for the day of the wedding, providing bathroom baskets, setting up before the ceremony, helping line up and cue the processional, coordinate timing of speeches, cake cutting, etc. Though she had helped us with the timeline, so we did get some service. It was a very stressful 24 hours, but thankfully all of our other vendors went above and beyond to still make things run smoothly. In the original contract, it states that in the event of illness or other unforeseen circumstances, where the primary contact is unavailable, they will make every reasonable effort to find a replacement, considering that a few days before she said on the phone her assistant would be available should anything happen. She had flaked on another scheduled commitment, so I asked. It was quite a surprise when we got the full cancellation email. She also attached a letter saying that she would refund 50% and at the bottom put a non-disparagement agreement that stated, as part of this cancellation and refund arrangement, both parties agree to refrain from making any negative or disparaging remarks, written or verbal, about one another in any capacity, including online platforms, social media, or other public forums. My question is twofold. We are going to try and get all our money back, or at least 75%, and threaten her with either a Venmo dispute we paid as goods and services less than 180 days ago, or small claims court. I think with all the email and text evidence we have, we'd have a good case for breach of contract, but the total amount of the service was around $950. Not sure if it's worth it? If we wait until getting the money back, are we not allowed to write a negative review based on her non-disparagement agreement? I didn't sign anything to that effect. We definitely want to warn other couples planning their wedding about her. Edited to add, in the cancellation letter there was nothing for me to sign. Just a statement. I would not have signed it, but there wasn't even an option to. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, for $237. I think that's the difference between 50% and 75%. It's not worth the expense and the time taken off of work to sue her. If you post a bad review, then she probably takes the 50% offer off the table, and you don't know what happened. Maybe she's a flake. Maybe she got into a bad car accident that night, or her mother had a heart attack and died and her assistant was at another wedding. Maybe it was one of those life catastrophes. Maybe she's a doofus. I'd want to know more. Before posting a bad review, I'd ask for 75%, and if she agrees, take it. If she doesn't agree, I'd probably take the 50%. Reply, thanks for the response. Good point about the price difference. It was more on principle. If I had canceled on her within 30 days, she would keep 75% per the contract. Regarding the second point, what makes me really want to write the review is shortly after we had signed, she reached out about a Venmo dispute that turned out to be with a different bride who had the same first name as me. She told me that the other bride had called off the wedding but was wanting a refund, which seemed logical at the time but suspicious in retrospect. Commenter 2. Obviously I don't know this person at all, but I think we should all keep in mind that when someone says they had a personal emergency and they had to cancel a work commitment, there is a very good chance that it is a genuine emergency, such as a death in the family or a major health problem. I would not jump straight to threats. The reality is that you're not going to get lawyers involved here. It's just not worth it. Reply, yes, you're correct. Except that she had told me 3 days before canceling was a contingency plan. She had confirmed that the assistant planner did not have another wedding the same day and would be available if necessary. The reality is that if our other vendors, the venue in particular, hadn't been so amazing, our wedding would have been a total mess, since we hired her specifically to coordinate setup of the venue and vendor item drop-off the day of. I would of course not say anything personally disparaging in the review besides the facts, but I do think it is important for others to know when considering her company that they did not follow through on their stated backup plan should an unforeseen circumstance occur. Commenter 3. So what happened to the assistant planner? Did she never explain why she wasn't available? Reply, nope, no explanation. We got the email that she was canceling the event management services at 1 a.m. Friday morning. But we had the start of wedding activities Friday, so I decided we would just put it from our minds until Monday so as not to lay a damper on our celebrations. Thus far have not responded to the cancellation email. We're considering our options before responding, hence picking the collective minds of this subreddit. Commenter 4. Wedding planner here. This happened to me once I delivered a baby 5 weeks early. I had a little more time, 2 weeks, to hand off the wedding, but I paid the fee they paid me, and an extra $700 because that's what it costs to find someone reputable to take care of them. Go for 100% refund for non-disparaging agreement. If she gave you her run of show to operate from, I could reasonably see 75–80% refund. But if she didn't hand over any assets, I'd go after the full amount. Even if she invested time to understand how to execute her services, e.g. site tour, she didn't deliver the services. I'm so sorry that happened, but it sounds like your vendor team were amazing. Reply, thanks, this is helpful context. I would be more understanding, life happens. If she hadn't assured me that there was a backup assistant that was available who never materialized. I didn't mention in my original post because I noticed it wasn't in the original contract, but she did schedule a venue tour with my husband, myself, and the venue operator the week before, which she confirmed and then also canceled 10 hours later. Thanks for affirming my thoughts that this is not a normal behavior for a planner, doc, running a business. Commenter 5. I would need more than a 50% refund to sign a non-disparagement agreement. Update, wedding day of coordinator canceled the day before our wedding. Hi everyone, just wanted to provide an update on my previous post now that everything is resolved. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to comment. We read through everyone and it really helped us decide what to do. Now on to the update. We decided to email a long list of the ways we believed they breached our contract, including not making any effort to find a replacement if an unexpected circumstance arose, and asked for a full refund within 7 days. They responded saying they would only be able to provide 50% refund after we signed the non-disparagement agreement. Good job to those of you who thought they would eventually ask for us to sign it. We responded saying we would sign the non-disparagement agreement if we were provided a 75% refund. As one commentator suggested, our plan was to then write a non-review review. We cannot say more publicly, but please DM if you are thinking of working with this company in our local wedding Facebook groups. They responded saying that due to still needing to pay their staff, despite the cancellation, they could only provide a 50% refund, but that we were welcome to do a Venmo dispute for the full amount and they would honor it. We did file a Venmo dispute we had paid using goods and services and included all of the correspondence, original contract, etc. The day of coordinator must have promptly non-contested with Venmo, because they ruled in our favor the next day. They did reach out and asked us to confirm that we received the money. We responded saying we did, and have not had any further contact. Since we did not sign any non-disparagement agreement, we are planning to post a review. A few of you suggested that they might have double booked, but we didn't see anything on their socials as of today. I guess we'll never know if they did have a family emergency and didn't have their supposedly confirmed backup available, or if it was some kind of a scam. But at least we got our full money back and don't need to worry about them suing us for defamation since we never signed anything. Stories number 8. Husband 30M admits I 28F am ugly. I am an unattractive woman. Objectively, I've always been this way, and while I have accustomed myself to it, it nonetheless remains a daily fact that being an ugly woman sucks. I met my husband 4 years ago, and he is greatest thing that's ever happened to me. He has always and frequently told me I'm beautiful, and somehow sounded honest, without sounding like my mother, like someone without another option to answer. Last night, Saturday, he had a group of friends over to our home. They meet several times a month to hang out, catch up, and play games. He has known most of these guys since high school. I was upstairs in the kitchen preparing a drinks and snacks when and was able to hear them in the basement and began to eavesdrop, which I know was rude, but it wasn't really intentional. I realized they were talking about me. A couple of guys were teasing my husband about me, specifically about my looks. I could tell it was supposed to be funny. It was not. There was a point where one of them referred to me as a troll, and my husband blew up. Started shouting, "Listen, shut the fuck up! I know that my name is ugly, but shut up. She makes me happy. Does your bimbo of the week do that, Jim? Dave, how long has it been since we've hang out and you haven't bitched about your wife?" Not real names, he went on for a while, defending me, but all I could hear was, "I know she's ugly, I know she's ugly, I know she's ugly," again and again in my head. It just broke me, I don't know why. I've always known him unattractive, but he isn't supposed to. He tells me I'm beautiful, so sincerely and consistently, I'd started to actually believe he thought that. I started to cry and ran into a shower so no one could hear me. When I came out an hour later, everyone had gone home, far earlier than normal. I went to bed and then haven't spoken to him all day today, but I think I've been able to avoid letting him know I'm upset. Or avoiding him. I know rationally that what he said was true and sweet, and that I sound be happy he loves me and not my body, but it doesn't seem to matter. I just want to be pretty. God, I feel so shallow. I've been crying all day, what do I say to him? Part of me wants to call him a liar, to scream and yell and cry, while the other part just wants to run away and never have to talk to him again, and acknowledge that even the greatest man I will ever meet can't find me attractive. Dr. Overheard husband admit to friends that I am ugly. Even although I knew this to be true already, and the admitting happened in the midst of him explaining how much he loves me, it makes me feel terrible, worthless, and like I lost something I'd waited my whole life for. I'd given up hope I'd ever have a partner who even liked me before I met him. I lost a lottery spectacularly at birth, and my life feels like a big joke, a cycle of humiliation and punishment I did nothing to deserve. I don't even know how to talk to him. Comments commenter 1, to put his sentiments another way, you and I both know there are more beautiful women, but not to me. Commenter 2, that's sweet. And probably is exactly what he meant. Commenter 3, yep. When you're fighting with your friends, you're not at your most eloquent in the heat of the moment and all. Commenter 4, I am so very sorry this happened to you. My heart breaks for you. Because the pressure and value on us women to be beautiful is just immense and lifelong. However, just because your husband may objectively perceive that you are ugly, that does not mean he is not attracted to you. It is possible to be incredibly homely and immensely sexy, and the reverse. There are beautiful people that can leave you cold, even make your flesh creep. I think that what your husband really meant was, I know that my wife is ugly according to social convention, but to me she is a beautiful person, a loving and sexy woman, and I find her as attractive as someone with slightly more even features, or longer legs or whatever. He didn't say all that because he lost his cool, and because it's hard to articulate it, but he loves you. That's what you need to focus on. I also think that you need to differentiate between beauty and attractiveness. The latter is far more about confidence, attitude, personality, style. If you've been burying yourself away a bit because of your concerns, then don't. Step out. Fuck the world. You have what millions of far more beautiful women and men never will. Someone who loves you for you, edit. Thank you so much to whomever gave me Reddit gold. That was incredibly kind and generous. I just hope all of us commenting here have been able to lift the OP's spirits. Commenter 5, this nails it, and I would just add, as a guy who has fallen for girls all across the pretty spectrum, you do know when the girl you find so beautiful isn't considered so by most people. Sad, but true. But you know what? Other than the more vain among us, the response in this situation is usually, fuck 'em. Who cares what people think? When a guy really falls in love with a girl, he looks at her face, he looks in her eyes, and he thinks, almost with resignation, I really don't know what I would change. She's beautiful, and if he's lucky, and things work out, and they build a happy life together, that feeling, while still true, grows into something more. Because she becomes a part of him. Looks, those are for the people on the outside. They're inside each other now, and when people reach that point, there's still an attraction, sure. But they really don't think of things in those terms anymore. They're too close for that. I think you should just tell your husband how you feel. I think it will break his heart to see how much hurt he caused you. But I also think he'll see you feel better by talking to him. And he would take that trade, every single time. Look, it sucks you heard what you heard. I know, I'm sorry, but seriously keep things in perspective. TLDR, love is so much more important than pretty. Oop, wow, this exploded overnight. I went to bed right after posting and never expected so much of a response. I can't tell you what a nice surprise this is to wake up to. All the wonderful things you guys have said. I'm going to talk to my husband today after he gets home. There is no way I can reply to all of these comments, but I promise I've read them each and every one. Thank you. Update. This one turned out really long. Sorry, first off, I'd just like to say thanks. Just wow. Over the last 2 days, I've had literally hundreds of messages and PMs. You guys rock. Seriously, look at that thread. That's gotta have one best positivity and sweetness to meanness and jerks ratios on all of Reddit. Like ever. You guys knocked it out of the park for me. I'm still figuring out why. So yesterday, after getting a barrage of support from you guys on my phone every couple minutes non-stop all day, I decided to try and confront my husband over what I'd overheard. After we were both home from work, I told him I needed to talk. I told him I'd overheard him and his friends, and he immediately started to apologize for them, saying they were jerks and assholes, and that I should have told him I'd heard. I had to stop him to let me get a word in and tell him it wasn't his friends, so much as it was what he said. When I told him what he said, his whole tone changed. I could tell wasn't expecting to be blamed. I had had the whole conversation planned out. I wanted to explain how it made me feel, how I thought he really was attracted to me, and how betrayed it made me feel to hear him that behind my back. But I just started to cry, and couldn't really communicate what I wanted to say very well. He was awesome though and just held me. And then after a minute started to speak like he was reading right out of the nicest comments in the original thread, telling me he was just angry and didn't speak very well, that he really does find me attractive even if the world doesn't. And his friends don't. I calmed down pretty quick. I'd basically cried myself out the day before. He took me to his computer and showed me an email he sent to all of his friends on Sunday. I wish I could copy-paste it now. But he basically called all his friends assholes, said they'd crossed the line from good-natured trash talk to just being assholes, and then continued going far beyond. He said that, for time indefinite, they'd have to find another host. We're no longer welcome in my home. I thought that would make it sound like I was ordering him around being a bitch. But he said he just wanted to empathize how wrong what they were doing was. Seeing him stand up for me again made me happy. Especially seeing me do it without talking bad about me. Helping me believe it really was just heat-of-the-moment bad word choice. He told me to wait in the room and left, coming back with a folder. He said he was going to give me this for Christmas, but that he'd get me something else. I tried to say no, but he insisted. It was plane tickets and brochures. He set up a trip in early January to this spa or hotel resort thing in British Columbia. It was pretty mind-blowing, but I realized that it had to be several $1,000s he'd spent. We budget pretty thoroughly. He shouldn't have been able to spend that without me noticing. I asked where he got the money, and he said he'd been planning this for more than a year and saving all the money assigned to his weekly spending money, and collecting where I wouldn't notice, change from groceries, etc. When I say that, sometimes I'm not sure I deserve him. Understand that I'm not having a crisis I need help dealing with. He's just really awesome. He's taking me out for dinner, so I have to go. But I'll be on again tonight. TLDR, everything is okay. Husband is an amazing person. I still wish I was prettier, but understand how lucky I am, how happy I should be, and how prettiness and happiness are not synonyms. Thank you, Reddit, for all the support. I owe you guys. Comments, commenter 1. Good guy all around. Listen, I don't find myself attractive, and I'm sure most people don't think I am either. My husband has always called me beautiful. When I'm down on myself and calling myself ugly, I'm overweight and I'm dealing with it. But I've been sitting on negative feelings about myself forever. Therapy is helping. It is a good thing for me to vent these feelings and not be ashamed to feel the way I do. He always says, "Do you think I'd marry an uggo? Not a chance. We both know how you feel about your weight, and while I'm concerned about your health, I wouldn't have married you if I didn't find you attractive the way you are. If you lose weight, get healthier, and become happy with who you are, that is only the icing on the cake for me. I can't believe people in your own house would be so rude." Commenter 2, my boyfriend says the same, overweight here as well. Pretty much calling me out on his taste, and he has very good taste. He also added almost word for word about me losing weight. I love you just the way you are, and if you lose weight and it makes you happy, that's all added bonuses. Are we a couple clone? Commenter 3, damn onions, this paragraph she wrote. But I realized that it had to be several $1,000s he'd spent. We budget pretty thoroughly. He shouldn't have been able to spend that without me noticing. I asked where he got the money, and he said he'd been planning this for more than a year and saving all the money assigned to his weekly spending money, and collecting where I wouldn't notice, change from groceries, etc. Could have come straight from a romantic movie. Man, OP, your husband is fucking awesome. And so are you. Communication is the key. As always, stories number 9, AITA for calling the police on Mael for bringing in peanut into my houses. IF27 have a severe peanut allergy. Even a trace can send me to the hospital. So my husband and I agreed our house would be a 100% peanut-free zone. Everyone in the family knows this. The problem is my Mael. She loves peanuts and doesn't take my allergy seriously. She keeps saying things like, "Just don't eat them," or "You're overreacting." Despite me asking her multiple times not to, she still brings peanuts into the house and eats them when she visits. Last week, while my husband was away, she came over unannounced with a bag of roasted peanuts. I told her she had to leave them outside, but she ignored me and opened them in my living room. I was furious and honestly scared, because if any residue got on the surfaces or food, I could have had a serious reaction. I called the police and explained the situation. MIL was taken in for questioning. Now my SIL is telling me I overreacted, that I embarrassed the family, and I should have just ignored it or quietly cleaned up after Emil left. But from my perspective, she knowingly brought something life-threatening into my house after being told not to. Multiple times, I felt like she left me no choice. Comments, commenter 1. Having dealt with a Mael who didn't believe our kids had life-threatening allergies, I understand this. This was attempted murder and should be treated as such. NC is also in order for Emil and Sil. Commenter 2 to the family group chat. Willingly exposing a person to a substance that can literally kill them is legally akin to attempted homicide. At minimum, it's assault. I have patiently been civil until now. Peanuts. Peanut products or any product that contains peanuts and any other applicable nut. Family member is not permitted in or around my home or my property at all. I cannot control your actions in your homes, however, I won't be risking my life due to your arrogance and ignorance. MIL is no longer welcome in my home or on my property. Since you clearly don't have my best interests in mind and I can't trust you to respect my health risks, I won't be attending events in any environment I cannot control. Anyone else who chooses not to respect this boundary is also no longer welcome. My boundaries are not up for discussion or negotiation, if applicable, because I cannot guarantee you won't expose me to a lethal product through contact exposure with any of my children. They also will not be permitted in environments that put me at risk. Commenter 3. People thinking this is 100% not real must not have been on Reddit for the posts and updates about a woman whose MIL killed one of her daughters. I think it was twin girls, and they were severely allergic to coconut. Mael babysat overnight and decided to do a coconut oil treatment to the girl's hair. Then when the poor child started having a reaction, Miel dosed her with Benadryl and sent her to bed. That poor girl died suffering in bed, half conscious because she was like 4 years old and dosed with Benadryl. And there are many instances of evil MILFs and even spouses doing this because they don't think the allergy or condition like celiac is real. Commenter 4. Assuming it's real, what did your husband say and what charges are they pressing? Assuming it's real, NTA, she's putting your life in danger. But don't go to her house. She's going to start slipping them to you so she can prove you are overreacting. Update, Aita for calling the police on my MILF for bringing peanuts into my house. Hi everyone, OP here. I didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I read through so many comments, and I honestly appreciate everyone who took the time to explain how serious my allergy is, and that I wasn't overreacting. So, here's what happened after. Miel was released the same day, but she was furious. She told everyone I humiliated her and claimed I just wanted attention. My CL and a few relatives started messaging me nonstop, calling me dramatic and cruel for involving the police. When my husband got back, he was shocked at first, but after seeing the opened peanut shells on the couch and the police report, he sided with me completely. He told his mom that until she can respect our boundaries and understand the danger, she's not welcome in our home. That caused a huge family argument, but he stood firm. He even sent a group message explaining that my allergy isn't a preference. It's life-threatening, and anyone who can't respect that will not be visiting. The twist? Mel actually went to the doctor for a checkup. Apparently she was stressed about the arrest incident, and the doctor backed me up 100%. He told her that peanut protein residue can indeed trigger severe allergic reactions. She hasn't apologized directly, but she's been very quiet since then. I'm still shaken up, but I finally feel safe in my own home again. My husband and I are also looking into installing a small camera at the entrance, just in case she tries to pull a surprise visit again. So yeah. I don't think I overreacted anymore. I just protected myself. TLDR. Mael ignored my severe peanut allergy. I called the police, husband backed me up, family drama exploded, but now boundaries are respected. Comments, commenter 1, good call on the cameras. She sounds like the type to rub peanut oil on the doorknob. Commenter 2, it sounds like she didn't believe you, and was trying to prove you wrong, by bringing the peanuts in your house. Of course she has nothing to say now. That her doctor basically informed her that she's ignorant. Update me. I bet eventually you will get one of those, I'm sorry, if, but non-apologies, commenter 3. Good for you for enforcing a very important boundary, and for your husband on backing you up. Your MIL sounds like a beast. I'd steer clear of her if I were you. She can't ever come over again without a heartfelt apology. And she should have an explicit invitation before ever showing up at your house again. Commenter 4, I didn't read the first post, but I see this theme a lot where somebody has an allergy or aversion to some food or substance and somebody else feels that is there, right? Or responsibility to prove whether or not they are lying. I had a friend who had a deadly allergy to pork, and his sister didn't believe him and kept trying to put pork in his food. I know that some people believe that you can overcome your allergies by exposing yourself in small quantities and becoming accustomed to it. Under a doctor's supervision, that is a fine plan. But for some people, continued exposure actually makes the reaction worse and more deathly. The thing I don't understand is the people's need to be right and to prove that the person's allergies aren't so bad. I don't eat salmon because I got food poisoning from salmon once. I know lots of people who love salmon, and when I tell them why I don't want it anywhere near me, and how even the smell of it upsets my stomach, not one of them has ever tried to force me to eat salmon to change my mind. If they can respect my simple aversion, why can't other people respect life-threatening allergies? Stories number 10, Aita for telling my fat friend stop talking about getting in shape. Little background information about myself. I am in good physical shape. I diet and meal prep. Pretty much your average gym bro. My friend, on the other hand, is medically obese and a gamer. Every couple of months, he'll go on about how he wants to change his life. Get in shape, diet, and be consistent in the gym. Then he'll ask me for the same advice I gave countless times. Complain about his life and why he's fat. Ultimately, he'll ask me to start taking him to the gym. He'll go like one time, then just flake out and not go again. He'll then randomly start complaining that I never take him. Then he'll give up and repeat this process. I literally cannot tell you how many times I have made workout programs for him. Pep talks, meal prep suggestions and directions. Well, I'm sick of it. I told him this time something along the lines of, "Stop asking me for help. You never take my advice and blame your circumstances on your past." He then went on and told our other friend in front of me, "Hey, can I go to the gym with you? OP doesn't want to take me and help me." I went on to tell him he has no self-control, no accountability. He is a hedonist, and he blames all his fuck-ups on other people. Then I said, just do it. Stop talking about it your whole life and do it. Comments. Commenter 1, exercise scientist here. This method isn't going to help him or motivate him, same as taking him to the gym isn't working. When you are medically overweight, there are many factors involved in the reason behind it. One thing I can tell you is that it's more important to focus on getting him to enjoy moving rather than bringing him to a gym. Gyms are not for everyone. Besides the fact that gyms can be a place of judgment, it's also intimidating if you don't know how to use the equipment, are afraid to get super sweaty in public, or just don't like doing repetitive sets. If you do want to help your friend, my advice is to get him to enjoy moving his body in a way that helps get him off the couch and away from temptation. It could start as simply as with a walk around the block. Not only is that exercise, but you get fresh air and sunlight, a walk in the mall, so on and so forth. It starts small. You are not going to take someone who is a couch potato and make them into a gym bro overnight. That's like having someone who is heavily addicted to substances and having them be totally clean and committed to a better life overnight. There's a lot of steps to get to that point. I hope you can help your friend in a positive way for his sake and yours. Commenter 2, I'm not going to vote for reasons, but as a fellow fat person who is in the same situation, all the advice in the world won't help. He needs help getting out of the house. It takes a lot of energy to get out and work out, and it takes a lot out of you. I'm sure you know. Being fat and trying to get into exercising is extremely hard because of how much it wears you out. You go and the next day you can't move, so you take a break and plan on going the next day, but the next day comes and you still feel like shit, so you put it off and then you forget. And then weeks go by and you realize you fucked up and haven't been exercising and you need to start again. Then you start the whole process over again. Try doing your normal routine while carrying an extra 50, 100 lbs on you 24 hours a day, and see how much energy you have. You run out of energy really quick. I don't know how hard exercising all the time is for skinny people, so I can't compare it. I just know most skinny people I've met normally has tons more energy than I do, and much more stamina. He needs help with getting motivated, which is probably the wrong word for this, or being reminded, encouraged, to go again before he remembers. Basically, he needs help getting into a pattern that will help him. Once he gets into a habit of going, he can use the rest of your advice. But it's developing that habit that he needs the most assistance with, and he may not even know it. Yet if you want to help him out, this is where I suggest you start. Commenter 3, no, you're not wrong. It gets annoying. You know why he's not doing it? Because he keeps telling you he's going to do it, and he's getting instant gratification from telling you. Reply, I have never thought of it like that. It does seem like that now that I think about it, though. Commenter 4, NTA, because you don't owe him your leisure time. And all of this is extra kinda harsh, though. You are both asking too much of him. He is not going to become a gym bro tomorrow. Usually people can't, more than won't. Even if it's just a lack of dopamine and difficulty initiating. Your plans are too big. Lifestyle changes are hard and don't stick well. He doesn't need a whole workout plan. He needs the babiest of steps. You could see if he'll come with you to just do the warm-up once a week and only stay as long as he wants, or go for a walk with you. The goal shouldn't be to be trim. It should be 45 minutes of exercise 3x a week. Build up to that. Now, this is his responsibility, not yours. But also keep in mind, you can just say, you know where and when I work out. Join whenever you want, and put as much energy into it as he is. Stories number 11. Aita, for not honoring my wife's dying wish. Posting from a throwaway account. 6 years ago, my wife passed away after a short illness. The day before she passed away, it seemed as though she may pull through. She said to me, "If I die, you're not allowed to date." I laughed and promised I wouldn't. Both of my daughters were there when she said it. That night, things went horribly downhill, and she was gone by noon the next day. I've spent the last 6 years raising my girls and finally sent my youngest off to college in August. I have been involved in a few support groups for people who have lost spouses for the last few years. And earlier this year, I really connected with a woman who lost her husband around the same time. I wasn't looking for a relationship, but we have been on a few dates, and I've been trying to keep it concealed, at least in the meantime. We ended up going to a restaurant, and our server was one of my older daughter's friends from high school. She must have called or texted my daughter because last night my daughter called to scream at me and basically told me I was cheating on her mother, and I had no right to dishonor her request of me. I am pretty furious she called me like that, and I had to hang up and told her I'd call her in the morning when I've had some time to reflect. Now all I can think of is how horrible I am for this. I'm 45 years old and I need companionship, but I don't want my daughters to think I'm spitting on their mother's grave. My wife's sister also texted me to tell me that my wife's request was unreasonable and unfair, and that her family is not going to judge me if I move on, and she would talk to my daughter about it. I don't want to ruin my relationship with my kids over this, but I am so damn torn. Aita, for not honoring her request. Edit. Wow, thank you for all of the comments. I want to clear up that when she said it, I did take it as a joke, and I think she was joking as well. The issue, as pointed out by a few, is that my kids were present and took it seriously. They were 14 and 12 at the time. She had been hospitalized with severe pneumonia and had been on oxygen for 2 days. All signs were pointing to a full recovery, and it was during this time she made the statement. None of us expected her to go downhill so quickly overnight. Some of comments. To a downvoted commenter blaming the server for being malicious, OOP. Her intent was not malicious. She's always been a good friend to my daughter, and I think it was probably a, "Hey, I saw your dad on a date, I'm so happy for him," type of situation. I've never known her to be vindictive. Commenter. Is your daughter autistic? Genuine question. Has she ever been tested? Reply. She has ADHD but has no formal diagnosis of autism. Though it is suspected. Update. I called my daughter this morning and asked her if I can come to her campus for breakfast with her. She goes to school an hour away, so it isn't a bad drive. Apparently. My sister-in-law did talk to her last night and told her she was being irrational and unfair, and that I deserved to be happy. My younger daughter, who goes to school several hours away, also told my older daughter it isn't a big deal and I'm allowed to live my life. We had breakfast and walked around her campus for a few hours. We talked about her mom and how much we all loved her and miss her. We had some laughs and cries, and I told her I would never try to replace her mother, and anyone I date would have to get along with my girls. She is still upset, which I acknowledged, but she agrees it's unreasonable to expect me to go the rest of my life alone. She apologized for her reaction and genuinely felt bad that she acted that way. I suggested we go to therapy together to work some of this out, but she's really busy at school, so wouldn't be able to until winter break. I feel like I left with her understanding and really hope she won't hold this against me. I was not even looking for a relationship, especially at a support group. We met in March, went on our first date in July, and have only been on 3 more since. We have not even been intimate, so I'm not exactly sure where it's going. I appreciate all of the responses and advice from everyone. Stories number 12. Aita, for ignoring the GoFundMe my biological mother set up to fund treatment for one of her kids. The background to everything is that my dad died when I, 21M, was 4 or 5 years old. After his passing, my biological mother left me with my paternal grandparents, and she just never tried to be a parent to me. I saw her once when I was 6 and she was looking for money from my grandparents, who told her where to go. She didn't even check in with me to see how I was doing. It was just give me money. He was my husband and I deserve it, and then left again. My grandparents were my legal guardians, and they had custody of me until my 18th birthday. They never chased my biological mother for child support, and instead saved for my future. I had a small inheritance from my dad too, and there were things of dad's that I wasn't interested in keeping that my grandparents sold and added to the inheritance from dad. since my biological mother didn't want them either, and the sentimental things Dad loved were saved, they felt it was for the best. 2 years ago, my biological mother reached out to my grandparents via social media and asked for Dad's things they had already sold. She said she needed the money from them. They told her they were sold years ago and she wasn't getting a penny. She put two and two together and told them some of that should have went to her, and they told her she forfeited it all, and they had the messages to prove she wanted none of it at the time. She told them she had a kid with cancer who needed the money for treatments, and my grandparents told her Dad was not funding another man's child's treatment. Another year later, my biological mother contacted me and said she wanted to talk about the money she knew I had and how it would help her and her husband a lot, because they had 4 kids and one who was undergoing cancer treatments. I blocked her without replying. Then a few months after this past summer to be more exact, she contacted me on another account and sent me the link to a GoFundMe where they were raising money for this treatment for their kid's cancer. The money was only partially going directly to funding it, but they also wanted to have some place to stay and everything. I ignored the GoFundMe too, and I never donated. It was 2 months later when I got a message from my biological mother's husband, a stranger to me, who was like, "This is your half-sister, and you should be helping her." I ignored the message and blocked his account, and I made that whole account private. But then my biological mother found a different account on a different platform, and she DM'd me several times in a single night while I was asleep. She told me I was running from my little siblings and a sick sibling who needed my help, and I was doing it to punish her when they don't deserve it because they're innocent and blah blah blah. I responded that they needed to leave me alone because I was not a part of her family and I was not interested in spending money on her children. Then I blocked her account. So then she contacted my grandparents again and said they had raised me to be heartless and with no regard for my family. They told her where to go again. But it's crazy to me that they are so annoyed by this. Her husband was involved in yelling at my grandparents too, and it's like, what is this? They're acting like we owe them or their kids something. She's nothing more than my biological mother. She's not a donor because she didn't do a generous thing by giving people the chance to have a kid. She's not some selfless person. She's not a caring mother either who made a simple mistake. All she cares about is getting money from me. So her kids are nothing more to me than random kids I hear about on social media. This feeling grows with every interaction my grandparents or I have with this woman and her husband. But I wanted to check and see what people think. Was ignoring the GoFundMe a bad move? I could have donated. It wasn't that I couldn't afford to donate anything. I simply didn't want to. Does that make me TA? Comments, commenter 1, NTA. While it's a horrible situation, a child going through cancer and all that it entails, it's not your responsibility. You have a biological link to the kids, but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to pick them out of a lineup. The reality is, bio-donor wouldn't have been in any contact with you but for the fact she needed something. Commenter 2. Tell her if she and her family don't leave you alone, then you will go after her for the child support she never paid and file a restraining order. Consider reaching out to a lawyer to send a cease and desist. NTA also, you might want to consider having your grandparents legally adopt you, or at least your grandma, if you want to keep your bio dad on your birth certificate. It has some legal benefits when it comes to inheritance and things like that. Doesn't hurt to look into it and see if it would be beneficial to you all. Reply. I considered adoption briefly, but my grandparents and I agreed that we didn't want Dad's name taken off my birth certificate. So instead of them adopting me, they are named as my emergency contacts. If anything happens to me, I'm in their will, and will get whatever % my dad would have got. And we have things in place that takes away the need for the adoption. It would feel weird to be adopted just by Grandma as much as I love her. It would feel wrong to have just her over Grandpa, but having Grandpa adopt me erases my dad. If she actually tries to contact me again, I'll speak to an attorney. But I can't do it on my grandparents' behalf, and right now my grandparents are being contacted, and not me. Commenter 3 NTAH in no way ever. Hilarious, they are pulling the family card. Like what family? The baby you abandoned and never even contributed to financially in your entire life is in no way responsible to help save you. Your family or your kid, at all financially now that he's grown. Calling you heartless? That's rich. Where was her heart when you were growing up? Where was she when you were sick and needed a mother's care? Fuck her and her family. You are a stranger to her, and her expecting you to help is no different than her approaching a random stranger on the street and asking for money. They either give it or they don't. Commenter 4 NTA of course. Cherish your grandparents, try to ignore them. Best of luck in your life. Reply, I cherish my grandparents every day. They gave me an amazing life with them, and it meant I was lucky and got to learn more about Dad as I was growing up. Stories number 13. My wife searched her massage therapist's personal info to ask him to dinner. Should I confront or let it play out? I 42M need opinions, advise because I'm livid and not thinking straight. While I was out of state last Friday, my wife 39F was online late looking up her sports massage therapist's Facebook, phone number, and email. The next day she ended up with his number, and from what I saw in her texts with her best friend, she was excited about it. From those texts, I can only infer that she was planning to ask him to dinner. Because the next morning my wife updated her with a boring LOL text, and best friend replied that she was glad my wife stayed home and just did a normal stalk. Her friend added, "Just get a massage and do not ask anyone to dinner." My wife's response back was, "I can't make any promises." What the fuck? Not only was she planning a fucking date with this guy, she also hasn't shut the door on it. That night our kids slept over at my mother's and she went radio silent around 9:45 p.m. for the rest of the evening, which felt odd. She almost always sends a going to sleep text when I'm away, but I just assumed she fell asleep. I would have never guessed this is what I'd stumble onto a week later. She got his number because the following day she hurt her leg and told another friend about it. Not the best friend, but someone who had recommended the therapist 9 months ago. That second friend messaged him on Instagram. He apparently replied right away with his personal number, and she passed it along to my wife. From what I can tell, friend 2 has no idea about the flirty back and forth between my wife and her best friend, but my wife made a big deal to best friend about how crazy it was that now she had his number. She also shared that she only texted him about the injury, and that he followed up to check in on her the next day, but nothing more. I'm not texting him, I'm just going to leave it alone. Fucking great, I guess. I'm piecing this together entirely from her conversations with her best friend. She obviously hasn't mentioned any of this to me, and has deleted the whole text conversation with the guy. That in itself feels damning enough. What also stands out is that something must have happened on Friday to trigger all of this, because she thanked her best friend for listening to me be a psycho. There were no arguments between us leading up to my weekend away, not an excuse, but trying to rationalize. Nothing I can think of that would have triggered this. Matter of fact, that morning before she left for work, while I was at work, she was really nice, setting aside a few things for me to pack when I got home. It makes me wonder what the fuck shifted between being sweet that morning and this bullshit in the evening. I can't find anything. It's taking all my willpower not to blow this up right now, but I don't have proof they've met outside of appointments or that things have gotten physical. However, the searching, the late-night effort to find him, the flirty tone with her friend, the "I can't make promises" comment, the coincidence of getting his number, the missing messages, the radio silence that night, and the fact that something unknown happened to set this all off. It feels like emotional cheating at the very least, and something that could easily escalate further. This is so out of character for her. Or at least I thought so. But since nothing happened, is this salvageable? Then my mind wonders, I'm thinking about any other time in the last 21 where shit like this could have happened. Do I even want to save it? I'm spiraling, swinging from extreme anger to complete numbness. Over and over again. I have the receipts to prove it, and I still can't fucking believe it. That said, I don't want my next move to be a mistake, and I'm not thinking clearly, what should I do? My marriage and family are everything to me, but I'm not going to ignore this. It's not a question of if, but when I'm setting off this bomb. Should I confront her now or monitor the situation for something more? TLDR, while I was away, my wife searched for her massage therapist's personal info, ended up with his number through a friend, told her best friend about asking him to dinner, made a big deal about now having his number, deleted their convo, and went radio silent after sending our kids to my mom's the night of. Feels like emotional infidelity at best. Maybe more. Confront now or gather more evidence. Edit. I'm adding a confirmed timeline I have of the weekend. I summarized it in the OP to avoid it getting too long and scaring people away from reading. I posted it down below as a reply to a comment, but here's a cleaned up version. This detailed version seems to change some perspectives. Thank you all for all the replies thus far. Sadly, it's been eye-opening to say the least. She was working until 8 p.m.-ish that Friday night. She spoke to her best friend for 32 mins at 9:47 p.m. Thanks for listening to me be a psycho last night bit. I last spoke to her right before that at 9:45-ish that I was driving and would let her know when I get to the hotel. She Google searched him from 11:20 p.m. to 12:26 a.m.-ish. I got to the hotel around 1:20 a.m.-ish and text her, no answer. Next morning, she texts boring update and friend says she's glad my wife stayed home. To just get a massage and don't ask anyone to dinner. I can't make any promises. This is where I see red. That same next morning, she texts friend 2 that she's limping and can't run. Friend 2, also a runner, also sees this therapist, totally innocent. Gets the guy's number through Instagram so my wife can call for advice. I found a draft in her clipboard of the first message she sent to him totally about just the injury and how she should treat it. This is still Saturday. That night she texts best friend that you won't believe this, but I got hurt, and text friend 2 and she got me his number. So I had to text him. Best friend says, oh no, this is bad. Wife says she can't make it up and tells her she had to text him now or it would be awkward, which matches that draft first message I found. Best friend jokes, he's like finally she has my number, it's mommy's turn. What? Laughing emojis with an I hate you from my wife. Then wife says guy said to keep him posted, but she says, I'm not texting him, I'm just gonna leave it alone. Then Sunday night she texts best friend that he sent her a how are you feeling text. Friend says, stop really? Wife says, yes, that was the text. Wife, nothing else crazy but I had to text you. Friend, did you say you would feel better if he cured you? Wife, if I could only, and I'm better now, lol. Friend, mentally better now, lol. Wife, actually way worse, lol. Comments. Commenter 1, your wife wanted to ask another man out on a date and you're wondering if you're overreacting? Nah, way out of bounds. Reply, I know I'm not overreacting, and yes, it's crossed multiple boundaries. I'm asking what my next move should be. Commenter 2, your next move should be whatever your local divorce attorney advises. Your wife is looking for the door. Show it to her. Commenter 3, you should confront the local lawyer listing. I would be surprised if the massages weren't getting a bit of extra services with the rest of the details. Reply, agreed, but if that's the case, wouldn't she have already gotten his number? Commenter 4, not if she was throwing herself at him in person during her massage visits. She may just be looking to contact him for extra services outside of where they met. It's disgusting that you are even considering tolerating what your spouse is doing. OP, I won't tolerate anything. I'm fucking repulsed by this, but I need to be sure I'm making the best next move. Update, here's an update to my story posted earlier in the week. Please don't ask how I got the texts, I won't reply. I added some commentary to help correlate with the timeline in the other post. Once again, thank you all for offering advice and guidance in my previous post. Having people to talk this out with really helped me from spiraling deeper than I already was. Saturday, wife, hey, sorry to bother you. I'm literally limping around. I don't know what happened. I just can't lift my leg. I wasn't even doing anything crazy. It just happened out of nowhere. I think maybe it feels like nerve pain, but it's not just the back of my leg. It's the front too. I've had sciatica issues in the past. This exactly matches the draft message I found in her clipboard. The sciatica she mentions is a lingering on-off issue since our youngest son was born. Therapist, could be your back or hip. What movements hurt the most? Wife, if I move my knee inward, or if I just try and stretch flat. Therapist, okay. For the next 2 days you need to focus on anti-inflammatory practices. Ice, Aleve, and comfortable positions. These flare-ups happen and they fucking suck. Focus on lowering the inflammation, wife. Alright. That's what I'm gonna do, cause I really hate going to the DR. Hopefully it doesn't last too long, OMG. I just remembered you're away for the weekend. I'm being that annoying client, lol. Thanks for getting back to me, therapist. No problem. Keep me posted over the next few days. She told best friend she wouldn't text him again and will just leave it alone. Wife, will do. Thanks. Sunday. Therapist, hey, how are you feeling? She texted best friend Sunday night he reached out to check in on her. Wife, so much better. I think it was my lower back. It just came on so suddenly I was freaking out. Therapist, these things happen. It's important to have a 48-hour plan ready and go from there. Glad it was short-lived. Stretching session will be important from now till race day. You cannot afford a flare-up close to race time, wife. Oh, I know. I was like, WTF is happening. I'm just glad it wasn't worse. I'll be dragging myself through that race if I have to, lol, wife. Are you doing the stretching at the new place, or is it the other girl? Therapist, I'm doing stretching, wife. Okay, at which place? How do I book it? I'm going to wait a little, cause some of the stretching was killing me. But just so I know. Wife, location removed? Or location removed. Therapist, you're still in the process of the inflammation going down, so give it some time. You'll be able to book through an app. We have business cards with the QR code. Both facilities will have them, wife. Okay, do you have a preference or it doesn't matter? Therapist, when it comes to who stretches you? Odd question to ask, but definitely not a smoking gun. Wife, no, I'll go to you if you do it. I'm saying, do you have a preference which location therapist? Location removed, we'll have exclusive stretch sessions. We can include more stretches in our massage sessions if you like. Wife, okay, got it. I just want to make sure and that's it. Not another text since Sunday, nor any phone calls. It's completely professional. Had I stumbled onto this convo using her phone for something, I would have never thought anything of it, but she deleted it, and it doesn't change the facts of her conversations with her best friend, implying very strongly she wanted to get his number Friday night and ask him to dinner. I'm still going ahead with my plans for the confrontation tomorrow night, but I think I'll soften my approach. I need to know what triggered the psycho phone call Friday night that set this all in motion. Only my wife will have that answer. Thoughts? TLDR, got the text convo. Seems completely professional. I'm still confronting her about it. Thoughts? Comments. Commenter 1, you need to confront your wife. By your first story and the text showing, the therapist is being professional, thinking nothing more of it than a client wanting medical advice. But he did show a sign that sounded like he was questioning internally your wife's actions by asking for where he would do stretches and such. Your wife seems to right now have a hard fascination with him. Her conversations with the friend cross boundaries. They are not locker room type conversations per se. BFF and your wife saying things like, "Ooh, mommy's turn," shows clear thought processes into unfaithful actions. You need to call her out and ask her straight up what she is doing, and more, such as I said in my first comment on your first post. The therapist sounds at least in the dark to what your wife is saying, doing, and thinking, it seems, as well as the friend. But that could be just face value in these texts you've seen and shared contexts of, but your wife is at risk big time by her own choices. And you need to attempt to force a mirror on her ASAP to save what is your marriage. For people can talk and such with friends, saying someone is attractive, how they would love to be with the sexually and such. Even describe acts, while that is technically wrong. It is just talk. Looking to have the person massage you, stretch you, get their cell to text, talking about a date, etc. That is more than talk. Commenter 2, she had intentions. She somewhat acted on those intentions. With of those are red flags, I mean. You can be enamored with someone and not act on it. People do it all the time. They don't act because they are in a committed relationship. She was going through the motions of acting on it and somehow, for some reason, backed out. Yes, backing out was a good thing. But I would still have lost a bit of trust, Fro. The actions leading up to that. At no point in their conversation did it seem unprofessional or like he was coming on to her, which would give her reason to believe she should take the bait. That means she was the aggressor in this situation. These are just my observations. I mean, in the end, no, she didn't ask him out. But initially she had intentions, and those intentions may still be there. Keep your guard up. Stories number 14. My job is to protect rich international students at night without them ever knowing I exist. I've worked private security for about 8 years now. The kind most people never notice. No earpiece, no suit, no standing at a club door with my arms crossed. My job is quieter. More like a ghost with a phone, a radio, and a pair of sharp eyes. I get hired by parents, usually wealthy, international families, who send their kids to the US for college. Most of the students are between 18 and 24. They're far from home, flush with money, and completely unaware of how quickly things can go sideways in a city they don't really understand. My role is simple on paper: keep them safe when they go out at night. In reality, it's a weird, delicate balancing act. If I do it right, they'll never notice me. If I do it wrong, they'll see me, panic, and the whole illusion of freedom their parents promised them vanishes. I started this line of work after leaving the army. I was stationed overseas for a while and learned early how to blend in, observe, and keep people alive without drawing attention. When I came back stateside, a buddy named Ryan hooked me up with a private firm in Los Angeles that handled discreet protection for clients who didn't want visible bodyguards. Think low-profile, off-the-record stuff, politicians' kids, high-profile CEOs' teens, trust fund students, even a few social media influencers. The company called it non-invasive protection. Basically, it means follow them, anticipate trouble, but don't interfere unless absolutely necessary. You're the safety net, not the spotlight. The first student I ever watched was a 20-year-old from Singapore named Ethan. He went to USC, drove a matte black BMW M4, and threw parties every other weekend in his apartment that looked more like a nightclub than a home. His parents hired us after he got mugged walking back from a bar. They didn't tell him, of course. That's the rule. If the kid knows, they act differently. The parents wanted him to feel independent, but also wanted to sleep at night. So, every Thursday through Saturday, I'd tail him and his group. I'd sit at the bar a few stools away or hang back near the patio, pretending to text while keeping an eye on things. The first time I saw him drunk, I realized exactly why this job exists. He handed his phone and wallet to some random girl he'd just met. When she disappeared, he didn't even notice. 10 minutes later, I followed her to the bathroom hallway, intercepted her, flashed my badge quietly, and she panicked, handing everything back. I never told him. He never realized he'd almost lost his passport, phone, and about $2,500 in cash. The next day, his dad texted our firm, "Thank you for protecting our son." That's when it hit me. The best nights in this job are the ones no one remembers, but it's not always smooth. There was another client, a 22-year-old from South Korea named Daniel. He was studying business at NYU but spent more time club hopping than in class. I got assigned to him during a 6-month stretch when he was living in Manhattan. Daniel was reckless in ways I can't even explain. Mixing drinks, picking fights with random guys, vanishing into alleys with strangers. I once found him passed out behind a lounge at 3 a.m. with his phone gone and his jacket half off. I called an Uber, loaded him in, and followed it all the way home in my car to make sure he didn't choke on his own vomit in the back seat. The next morning, he posted an Instagram story, "Wild night. I'm unstoppable," I laughed. Because in reality, he wasn't unstoppable. He was barely surviving, thanks to the invisible stranger cleaning up behind him. Sometimes I wonder what they'd think if they knew someone was always 10 steps behind them. I've been kicked out of venues for pretending to be a patron, loitering too long. I've had drunk frat guys shoulder check me, thinking I was creeping on their girlfriends. Once, a guy I was tailing started chatting with me at the bar. Totally unaware I was on his payroll, he said, "Man, you look like you've seen some shit." I just smiled and told him, "Something like that? There are good moments too." One night, a group of students from Dubai were celebrating a friend's birthday downtown. They'd rented out a VIP section, all bottle service and designer clothes. One of the girls in their group, maybe 19, stepped outside to take a call. Some guy followed her out. I noticed him earlier in the night. Older, pushy, the kind who latches onto drunk groups hoping for an easy target. When I saw him corner her near the alley, I moved fast. I didn't touch him. Didn't raise my voice, just walked up, stood next to her, and said, "Hey, you ready to go back in?" She blinked, recognized me vaguely from earlier. I'd accidentally held the door open for her earlier, and nodded. The guy stared me down for a second, then walked off. When she went back inside, she smiled at me and said, "Thanks. That's rare." Usually, they never even realize. Not all clients are oblivious, though. A few months ago, I was watching over a kid named Connor, 21, from Boston. Loud, charming, drinks like he's trying to set a record. His dad is some finance exec who travels constantly. Connor goes out with his crew to the same rooftop bar every weekend. One night, as I was parked down the street, I got a text from an unknown number. "You can stop pretending, man." "I know who you are." It was Connor. My stomach dropped. He'd spotted me a few weeks back and decided to test a theory. He told me later, "At first I thought you were some creep following me. Then I realized my dad would totally do this." I admitted it, figuring honesty was better than lying. To my surprise, he didn't blow up. He just shrugged and said, "Whatever. You're doing your job. Just don't kill my vibe." After that, things got weirdly friendly. He'd occasionally nod at me in a club like we had a secret pact. Once, he even texted, "You good?" When I got shoved by a drunk guy at a dive bar for someone who didn't want protection. He started acting like my lookout too, by the end of the semester. His dad sent me a Christmas bonus for maintaining discretion and building trust. That was the nicest way of saying, "Thanks for babysitting my adult son." It's a bizarre job, honestly. You exist in this liminal space between their world and the real one. The glittering nightlife, and the quiet streets after. You see how money and youth mix, and it's not always pretty. Most of these kids are lonely, they have money, status, social circles that look glamorous on Instagram, but no real safety net outside their parents' bank accounts. I've driven more than one sobbing student home at 2 a.m. because a friend ditched them, or a relationship imploded. I'll walk them inside, make sure they drink some water, and leave before they sober up enough to remember my face. It's easy to judge them from the outside. Spoiled, clueless, reckless, but when you see them up close, they're just kids trying to figure out how to be adults without the emotional toolkit to do it. Sometimes I wish I could tell them, your parents didn't just hire me to keep you safe from others. They hired me to keep you safe from yourself. But I never do. That's not my place. When they go out, have fun, and make it home safely without ever realizing someone was watching out for them. That's a win. That means I did my job. I don't post about work often. People either think I'm exaggerating or that it's glamorous. It's neither. It's long nights, stale coffee, and a lot of waiting. But every once in a while, when I see one of them graduate, post their degree photo, or talk about making it on their own, I can't help but smile. Because somewhere, in the blur of those years, I know I was there. In the background, invisible, but part of their story in a way they'll never know. Stories number 15. My son's friend's parents want to adopt him. I 24F am a single mom to my son. Owen 8. It's been just us since day one. His father isn't in the picture and has been able to avoid child support for years now. Yes, I've tried everything. My own parents disowned me. I had to drop out of high school and have worked a myriad of jobs since then to keep us afloat. We aren't on the poverty line by any means, but we definitely live paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. It's not ideal, and I hope within the next couple of years, we'll be someplace bigger. For now, it's our situation. I've raised Owen to know that money isn't everything. We may not have a lot, he won't always have the newest this or that, but we have each other. The two of us are very close. He has never gone without the basics, but I admit, he doesn't get a lot of fun extras. I try to save a little here and there to make birthdays and holidays fun, but it's still never anything glamorous. And I think Owen was fine with that, until recently anyway. In our area, all the public schools are based on a lottery system. So, your child has a fair shot of going to any of them, so long as you put in their name. Our neighborhood school is not great, and in a pretty crappy area. So I decided to put him in a different one across town. It's near my job, so it works out. Last year, when he was in second grade, he met Charlie. They began hanging out a lot after school. With Owen going to his place, I met Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, a couple of times before this began. They seemed very nice and supportive. Owen always had a great time at their house. Charlie occasionally came to our apartment, but usually they were at his place, which made sense. I work and there's really not much for them to do here. Even when I am off, summer breaks are easy to find care, as there are several free or low-cost camps that I can put Owen in. It's the shorter breaks, such as Christmas and spring, that are harder. Camp space is limited. Spring break of 2022, I managed to just miss registration. Paige is a stay-at-home mom and offered to take Owen for the week. I was hesitant to ask so much of her, but she insisted. He had a really fun time with them. They did a ton of activities, and Paige refused my attempts to pay her back at least some I couldn't afford all. I admit, I did feel a tad uncomfortable with her spending this much on my son, but at the same time, I didn't want to deprive Owen of this stuff. Summer came, and while I did get Owen into camp, he spent a ton of time with Charlie as well. He ended up going on vacation with them. I was again very hesitant, but the experience was something I could never give Owen, and it wasn't too far away. He had a blast. I kept telling Nate and Paige that there's no way I could ever pay them back, and they kept insisting that they loved having Owen around. They told me what a great kid he is, sweet, respectful. At one point, I really pressed Paige as to why she was so insistent on having Owen around so much. That's when she told me that they never planned for Charlie to be an only child. But all attempts at giving him a sibling just didn't happen. They know that Owen will never make up for not having a brother. But if they can give him a consistent playmate so he's not lonely, they'll do it. Should this have been a red flag? Maybe. But at the same time, I found it sweet that the boys considered each other brothers. I thought it was innocent. Surely Paige and Nate knew the truth, right? Right. This continued for a bit, and come Christmas break of 2022, Paige and Nate insisted that I not even bother to try to get Owen into a camp. They'd take care of him for me. I was grateful. They ended up getting him more Christmas gifts than I did. I tried to set my pride aside because it was about Owen, not me. This is still when things finally started seeming off to me. I understood a gift on his birthday, and while they didn't get him as many gifts that they got Charlie, it was a lot more than you would typically get your kid's friend. Fast forward to now, spring break was last week, and this time, Paige and Nate didn't just offer to take care of him during the day while I worked. They asked if Owen could spend the entire week at their house. Honestly, it meant I could pick up some more shifts and save up for the bike Owen wants for his birthday. So, I said yes. I went to pick him up on Saturday afternoon. The kids were playing out back, so Nate and Paige asked to talk to me. They sat me down and said they love Owen and he's always such a joy to have. I thanked them profusely for all they'd done for him. Paige suggested that Owen stay a little longer. I pointed out Easter was Sunday plus school started up on Monday. They said they could take him to school. I felt weird and said no. It was time for Owen to come home. That's when Nate suggested that Owen stay with them long term. I could still see him, but they would take care of him. I thought they were joking and said, "Like what? You'd be his guardians or something?" They got quiet, and the reality rushed over me. I pointed out that this wasn't a movie. They can't just get custody. They started spouting some legal stuff about how I could assign them as guardians, and they would help make this transition smooth. They told me to think about Owen and what's best for him. I told them there was no way in hell I was going to give up my son. I grabbed Owen and we left. I've blocked their numbers. Owen has no clue what's going on. I'm keeping him home tomorrow and took the day off work to figure some stuff out. Legally, they can't take him. But now I know what they want and I'm terrified. I don't want him going back to that school. Do we move? I'm so lost. And I feel so stupid because looking back, all the warning signs were there. I know Owen is going to be devastated losing Charlie, Paige, and Nate. How am I ever going to explain it to him? Relevant comments in response to some now removed accusations of neglect. I can take care of my kid. He's never gone hungry. The lights are always on. He has clothes, albeit sometimes from Goodwill or donations. We lived in our car briefly when I was 17, but I pulled us out of that situation, and we'll never be in that place again. I have health insurance. He goes to the doctor, has his vaccines. He just doesn't have an iPad or summer vacations. What he does have is love. His favorite stuffed giraffe that I got him when I was pregnant. A love for the park. He isn't deprived. He has a good life. I love him, and I'm never giving him up. Maybe those parents have been turned down by foster adoption agencies. I've suspected this too. It seems like they don't want another child. They want Charlie to have a permanent playmate buddy, and I don't know much about the system. But if they were as honest as they were with me, I could see them turn down, update. There's no way I can respond to everyone. So I just want to say thank you for the advice. While I understand those saying they potentially meant well and weren't trying to be offensive, it's still a risk I can't take. It's not like they offered to take him every so often. They wanted him full-time, permanently. To those who said I should just let them. Please pass me whatever drugs you are on. I will never give up my son. Do we have the newest this or that? No, we have our needs met. I love my son, and I am not letting him go. As for everyone else, I took your advice and reached out to the school. I told them that Paige and Nate are no longer allowed to pick up Owen, and explained I do not feel safe with them around each other. They understood. There's not much they can do outside making sure they never pick him up. It's too late in the year to move classes, but next year, Charlie and Owen will not be in the same class. I notified the police, but again, they can't do much. We have zero in writing, and a simple request to have my child isn't really breaking any laws. Unfortunately, all I can do is hope they don't try anything. I still haven't spoken to Owen. I think it's fine if he talks to Charlie and plays with him at school, but I have to find a way to explain why they can't have play dates or sleepovers, as well as to never to go anywhere near Nate and Paige. I guess that'll come in time. I'll update again if anything happens. I'm hoping this is the end. As some of Nate and Paige's defenders said, they did take my no well, so hopefully they realize how totally out of bounds they were and leave us alone. Update 2, Monday night. I talked to Owen and explained that Nate and Paige were not safe. He was confused, and I explained that they wanted to take him away from me. I think it spooked him as he started crying, saying he didn't want to leave me and he didn't want to see them again. I held him and assured him he wasn't going anywhere. He understands he is never to go anywhere with them, and that the school is taking measures to protect him. I said he could still talk and play with Charlie at school. He said he doesn't want to. I was honestly worried he'd hate me, but you all were right. Telling him the full story made him realize how serious it was. He understands the gifts and trips will stop and says he's all right with it. Also, I wanted to address one last thing. I've gotten a few people offering me money or gifts. Please do not do that. I am very appreciative, but that was not the purpose of this post. If you wish to do something, donate to your local shelter or other charity. Owen and I are not in need. I'd rather see it go to people who need it. I didn't see Nate or Paige at drop-off, nor have I gotten any contact. But then again, I did block them everywhere. Thank you all for your help. I'll update if anything else happens. Hopefully it won't. Update post. I have tried to post this update in true off my chest, but it keeps getting auto-deleted. Since I have so many followers, I figured I'd update here and hopefully it gets around. Well, what everyone feared would happen did Tuesday. He returned to school. I told him he could still talk with and play with Charlie. I was hesitant to drop him off, but figured you can't live in fear. Most afternoon, my son takes the bus to a local rec center for aftercare. I had already told the school everything, and that Nate and Paige were not to pick Owen up. I managed to call and even make sure he got on the bus. Aftercare was also made aware of the change in pickup list. Well, a half hour later, I get a call that Paige had tried to pick up my son. The front desk refused to release him. Didn't say why, just that she was no longer on the list. She wouldn't leave and the police were called. She was escorted out of the building, while she wasn't brought to jail. There is a police report, and I am using this to go to court and get an order of protection. Paige and Nate are also banned from the rec center, so if they do show up, they will get arrested for trespassing. The police are working on ways to protect us, and the local social services office has been made aware of the situation. So should they try to make a claim, they're aware of the situation. Relevant commenter, thank you for the update. I am pulling for you. Great job on getting your ducks in a row at school and after care. They are starting to show their true colors. Please keep a careful eye out and be prepared. Talk with your son some more and make sure he understands a little better to not leave with them. Reply, thank you. I spoke to him Monday evening, so he knew what he was walking into on Tuesday. It freaked him out a lot and he said he absolutely didn't want to leave me. So he's aware and knows to never go with them? New update. I hadn't realized it had fully been nearly 2.5 years since I gave an update to our lives. But I thought about this whole saga recently. Found the account and realized 3K plus of you follow this now. Plus it seems I still get requests for an update. After this happened, I wanted to stay in the area we lived in, if anything, because I couldn't afford to move us. I ended up transferring Owen to a different after-school program. He still remained friends with Charlie at school, apparently. Even Charlie would call his parents weird and said he was angry with them for making it so Owen couldn't go over there after school. The rest of the year passed by awkwardly, but initially, the school did a good job of making sure Nate and Paige were not anywhere near my son. I was told they wouldn't be allowed to volunteer anymore, as Paige often did. Prior to everything, summer soon came. Owen started his usual camps, and I thought all was well. I had initially been told that the boys would not be put into the same class the following year. It had been too late in the year to move either of the boys. But when I brought Owen to school on the first day, I saw Charlie's name on the door. It's a small school, and they have a unique last name, so I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I spoke with the principal, and was told it was impossible to keep them in separate classes, and there were factors I just couldn't possibly understand. I regretfully didn't fight as hard, because I assumed Paige and Nate were still banned from volunteering. It was like a horror movie receiving a letter from the room moms of the class. Typical letter I receive every year talking about fundraising, volunteer opportunities, when they raise money for teacher gifts, etc. Paige's name was right at the bottom. I once again spoke to the principal and was told that they couldn't keep Paige away from the school. She donated a lot of money, was great with the kids. They said since we had no incidents in 5 months at that point, we had to let it go. I thought, maybe things have changed. But it brought me so much anxiety every time I thought about that woman near my son. The school was refusing to protect him. What if things hadn't changed? I debated switching schools, but this was the best in our area, and I couldn't afford private. I prepared my son. He said he wouldn't try to go with her and would scream if she tried to take him. Sure enough, first-class party of the year. My son said Paige was there, and Owen said she kept trying to talk to him. She kept asking him to come over and even wanted my new phone number. I changed it for obvious reasons after everything went down. Thankfully, Owen knew better. But I just saw the rest of the year flashing before my eyes. Paige finding ways to be around my son, potentially breaking him down. Since the school didn't give a shit, I had nightmares of them letting her kidnap him. I knew we couldn't stay long. But again, I was broke, working a crap job, and I couldn't just pack up and leave, so I started applying to some new jobs out of our city. As it was, I had one job working in retail, but I picked up house cleaning shifts and occasionally some babysitting shifts in between. I took a chance and applied for a live-in nanny position in a city about 3 hours away. I didn't think I'd have a shot at it, especially as I had a kid, but I met with the parents, and they were so kind, so sweet. They were more than happy to let me bring Owen with me, and let us live with them. They had an in-law suite I could live in as long as I was working there. It was only 1 bedroom, but Owen and I were used to that. He was a little sad about leaving his friends, but we jumped at the opportunity, I admit. I was nervous to put ourselves in a similar situation as before. What if these people enticed my son and wanted to take him? But thankfully, they weren't like that. They were kind to Owen, but they maintained boundaries. I eventually told them our story, and they were horrified that this had ever happened to us, and assured me they would never try to take my son. I was making better money living with them, and since I didn't have rent or utilities to worry about, I was able to save up more than usual. Owen thrived in his new school. The best part was, he got to spend time with me and the little ones I took care of. No more crazy hours, no more after-school programs. After 8 years, we finally caught a break. The family recently outgrew their need for a nanny, but they were happy to help me find a new job. This position isn't live-in, but I was able to save up to put a down payment on a condo, something I never thought would happen. For the first time in 10 years, Owen has his own room, something that both excited him, but he was also a little scared. With the help of my old bosses, who are now good friends of ours, we were able to decorate, and my new bosses are so kind and, again, totally fine with me bringing their baby with me to pick up Owen and having him around. I haven't heard from Nate and Paige since April 2023. My son occasionally mentions Charlie, and I know he misses his buddy, but he's also relieved about where we are. I hope for Charlie's sake that his parents have calmed down. Maybe they've learned their lesson, if anything, so they won't prey on another woman in my situation. I don't speak to anyone from our old city, no friends there, so I have no way of knowing. Sorry if that's not a fun update. But that's where we are, happy, healthy, and doing well. I'm 26 now, but many days. Feel like I'm 42. I'm in a new relationship now. Dating seriously for the first time since Owen was born. I have a group of friends who are also nannies. It took me 8.5 years to gain a support system. Still haven't spoken to my parents. Owen's father will never be a part of the picture, but we finally have a family, still. He often tells me that if all of it went away like Nate and Paige did, he'd be happy with just us, God. He knows how to make his mama cry. Anyway, thank you all for the support and concern over the years. Much love to you all. One of comments. Commenter, oh wow, so happy for you. It's horrible how money talks. You must have been unbelievably anxious that whole school year. Wishing you both all the best. Reply. Thankfully, I only had to deal with it for a total about 4 months last 2 months of the school year. Then the first 2 months of the next before I got the new job. Thank you so much. Stories number 16. Aita for not combining income and or sharing my savings with my girlfriend, so we both have spending money. I am going to try and keep this short. My girlfriend and I moved in together this past summer. We split joint expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, etc. proportional to income. I make about 3x as much as my girlfriend. As a result, I pay 75% of our joint expenses. I have virtually no expenses outside of the point expenses. My girlfriend has a lot of expenses outside our joint expenses. She has a car payment, student loan payments, health insurance premiums, medical debt, personal credit card debt, etc. At the end of the month, she does not have very much money left over. I have a fair bit left over at the end of the month, but most of it I save. I do have a fun money account to treat myself to nice things every once in a while. About a month ago, my girlfriend approached me about the idea of combining income so we each have money at the end of the month to save and or to do fun things. I flatly refused this request. I think splitting joint expenses proportional to income is the fair model for an unmarried couple like us living together, and that is what we do. Over Halloween weekend, my girlfriend's sister and her fiancé are having their bachelorette and bachelor parties. Respectively, my girlfriend is going to the bachelorette party, and I am going to the bachelor party. The bachelor party will be a weekend boys' trip to Florida. The bachelorette party is substantially smaller due to my girlfriend's inability to contribute significantly to the fund for the party. My girlfriend and her sister talked about the situation. My girlfriend told her sister she cannot afford a big trip. My girlfriend's sister asked how I was affording the bachelor party trip. Then, for reasons that still make no sense to me, my girlfriend went into detail about how much I make and how much I have in savings. I have substantial savings because I went to college on scholarship, and after I graduated, my parents gifted me my entire college fund. My girlfriend's sister has convinced my girlfriend that I am selfish with money. Even though I cover 75% of joint expense and cover 100% of our going out activities when we do go out, I am pretty pissed about my girlfriend sharing my personal financial information with her sister. But I am unchanged in my position on combing our income. Comments. Commenter 1. No, I'm saying this as a woman. Do not join finances with her. You are already covering more than she is. 75% joint expenses and 100% of dates. She's out of line asking for more and babbling to her sister. She needs to budget better, get a part-time job, something if she wants additional $NTA. But she definitely is. Commenter 2. Honestly, you're not wrong at all. You're already covering 75% of the expenses, which is more than fair. The fact that she shared your personal financial info with her sister is a huge red flag. That's a serious boundary issue and shows a lack of respect for your privacy. I'd really reconsider the relationship. If she can't handle money conversations maturely or keep things between you two, it's only going to cause bigger problems down the line. Commenter 3. Her debt, her problem, do not combine your finances. And the fact that she's crying that you should be giving her money is a pretty good indicator that you should be rethinking the relationship. Commenter 4. NTA. Don't cover her expenses for her either. Maybe find a new girlfriend who owns her finances and doesn't expect someone else to fix them for her. ETA. Baby trap warning. An alert personal info sharing. Stories number 17. My husband 29 threatens me 30F to revoke my car, phone and credit cards during disagreements. Despite my traditional stay-at-home role, I feel disgusted by this behavior. The foundation of our traditional relationship rests on a division of labor. He handles the finances and I manage the household early on. My strong work ethic, developed during my early 20s when I independently managed 2 jobs, a car, phone, and all my bills, was what initially attracted him. However, he expressed a desire for me to be a stay-at-home wife, which I embraced. Now my responsibilities include the upkeep of the house, caring for our 2 dogs, and unexpectedly, providing care for his paralyzed brother who lives with us. I took on this extra duty without complaint as an extension of my role, given that he covers all the bills, despite my non-stop work within the home. He seems to genuinely believe I don't contribute anything of value. This was painfully clear this morning when, after I expressed my gratitude for his financial support, he questioned, "So what do you do for us?" My stunned reply, outlining my care for the house, dogs, and his brother, was met with a dismissive laugh and the statement, "Without me, this house would be in shambles." Given his 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. work schedule, this perspective deeply upset me. When I retreated to cool down, he followed me, issuing a terrifying ultimatum. "Don't walk away from me again, or I'll take away the car, the phone, and credit cards." While I acknowledge his financial contributions, these threats confirm my feeling that he views himself as superior because he is the sole breadwinner. In a traditional marriage, I believe we have different, but equally important roles, and should be on the same playing field. The repeated, manipulative use of his financial control in every fight is making me resent the very tradition we share. Comments. Commenter 1 NTA. What your husband is doing is coercive control and financial abuse. Make a plan to get out safely. This will only escalate. I'm so very sorry you're in this situation. Commenter 2. The first thing you need to do is get a job. Tell him that now the household chores will be split, because he cannot handle a trad wife situation without using it to abuse you financially. And God knows how many other ways. If his reasoning for wanting a trad wife was so he could exert control over you, then take that away from him by getting a job, getting your own bank account and your own credit cards. He is ruining the spirit of a breadwinner trad wife relationship by using it as a weapon against you anytime he does not get his way. So take back control of your own life. Commenter 3. This is exactly why women are warned not to do the whole stupid trad wife thing. It always boils down to giving a man the power to abuse you. Commenter 4. Yeah, you walked right into that one. No one who thinks traditional roles should be the norm believes that the stay-at-home part is actually equal. You just found out your husband is a misogynist. Better later than never. Stories number 18. My daughter keeps going out, and I don't know what to do about it. I am a 49-year-old mother with an 18-year-old daughter in community college. I am also very introverted and a little anxious. I understand my daughter needs a social life, but I just don't feel right about it. This year, she started going out more with friends. She was sad that she wasted her teen years in her room, but she was safe that way. She downloaded Life 360 for me, and she bought pepper spray, and her phone is always on. She's usually at the mall or downtown exploring with friends. I just don't like that I don't know what she's doing or who she's with. I believe it's much better to stay at home, so there's no risk of anything bad happening to anyone. Sometimes she's annoyed about it. She has a 10 p.m. curfew. Midnight is much too late. She says she feels stifled and sheltered, but I'm just trying to keep her safe. She gives me weird looks when I tell her that going out a lot isn't a good thing. Am I being irrational? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Let your daughter live. Reply. She's smart, but too trusting of people. I'm scared she'll get into a bad situation. I'm a single mother, and I can't have the stress of her possibly getting murdered or worse. Home is safer. Commenter 2. What exactly would be worse? Reply. Sexual assault? Commenter 3. It's normal and healthy for your daughter to go out. She's learning to build bonds with people, exploring our beautiful world and connecting with her community. The skills she's developing will help her professionally. If she moves to a new place, and when she finds a life partner who will have their own family and friends who will also be in her life. What about yourself? Do you have enough strong friendships, and do you take enough time to explore all that's going on locally? Reply. I'm just scared she'll do something stupid. Part of the reason why she's going out is because she complained her senior year that her peers babied her because she was sheltered. She also felt bad about not hanging out with friends much when she wasn't busy with jobs and adulthood. What if she drinks to try and fit in? She never got much male attention. What if she sleeps with a man just to feel affection and ends up pregnant? I'm very introverted and quite the homebody, so I only talk to people at work and church. I guess I'm too old for friendships, lol. Museums, sports events, and the like don't really interest me. I just shop, work, and sleep. Commenter 4. Coming from parents who had me on a short leash in high school. The more you push your fear on her, she will be way more likely to engage in risky behavior. Trust your daughter. She has friends who will look out for her. She has pepper spray, and she has your number. The best thing you can do is be there for her and say that if anything happens, you are only a call away. Update 1. My heart broke today, but it's much deserved. My 18-year-old daughter has slowly stopped sharing things with me. She's scared to talk to me. I'm short-tempered, and I often lecture her out of love. But she once said half of our conversations is me just talking at her. She acts a bit like a know-it-all sometimes. She once said I tell her she's too naive. Yet I give her a 10 p.m. curfew. I get pissy when she hangs out with friends, and didn't let her walk outside our neighborhood until she was 16. I'm just trying to keep her safe. One thing I do understand is that I made her incapable of handling confrontation. She was sassy as a kid. But as she grew older, I wondered why she couldn't stand up for herself. Then I remembered how much I blew up at her, or was sarcastic with her without allowing her to get angry at me back. She had OCD, we both recognized the symptoms, and she begged for therapy. But I let my denial get the best of me until her junior year of high school. I apologized for it this year, but I'm not sure if she truly forgives me. Today she told me she wants to go to a uni down in Georgia when she's done with community college. I have a sinking feeling it's to do with me. I'm offended. I do a lot for her, but I understand moms. How do you deal with this if it's your fault your kid doesn't like you? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're offended that the daughter you talked down to and denied mental health treatment wants to move as far away as possible? This right here tells me you don't want to work on yourself. You just want to make her magically appreciate and love you? If you want to fix this, you need to fix your actions. Listen to her without butting in how wrong she is. Apologize again for the lack of treatment and mean it. Tell her you support her wherever she wants to go for college. Stop blowing up and start being supportive, and if that's difficult, get into therapy. It's going to take years and a lot of work to fix this relationship. Commenter 2. Thank you. My father is very similar to OP, and to this day it's all about how much he's done for me. As if providing material necessities can somehow absolve them of the very real consequences of their actions. Reply. You're right. I guess offended was the wrong word. I know I did wrong, and it hurts she's upset. But I acknowledge and understand why she feels the way she does. I let my pride and control get the best of me. I'll look into going to therapy. Commenter 3. So she was never right. When she expressed her opinion, you yelled at her. You talked at her rather than to hear. You were so controlling that she has to be at 10 p.m., which only lets her know you don't trust her. Is there anything about your daughter that you ever said, I'm proud of you? You drove her away a long time ago. You recognize what you did, but you want her to, it's okay and I will stay. She wants to get as far away from you as possible, and who can blame her? She wants the opportunity to live her life without being told she's wrong. Untrustworthy and irresponsible. You have a lot of making up to do. If you truly ever want a relationship with her, encourage her to go. Tell her she will do great things. Don't say one negative thing to her about going. Maybe if you do this, she will trust what you say, but my guess is that will be a long waiting period. All you can do is support her, not criticize her. Reply. I am an immigrant, hence why I seem foreign. My child was born here in the US. Commenter 5. The long-winded lectures are just you punishing her. Turn a 15-second issue into a 30-minute punishment talk where you release your anger on her and feel vindicated for setting things right. But you're just a bully and an asshole, reply. I guess it makes sense why she got mad whenever I'd lecture her. I was raised in a way where children must listen to when adults forever them. And to get upset is that is know-it-all behavior. Granted, I didn't always correct her in the nicest way, Egg. It's important to save your money versus my usual. If I spent money like you, if be homeless, I need to work on my commutation. Commenter 6. This comment is so very telling. You don't get it. Even with all of the personal experiences being shared about others who lived with a parent like you think that work on my communication is going to do anything? This has nothing to do with communication. Simple question. Yes or no? Do you want to be involved with any grandchildren's lives? If yes, go to therapy. It's that simple. Commenter 7. Why does your adult child have a curfew? Reply, we live in a very safe area, but you can never be too sure of who or what's out there. Commenter 8. She's an adult. I'm curious. What would have been the consequences if she missed her curfew? Reply, I wouldn't be happy, and I'd probably not let her go out the next time her friends invite her out. She's an adult, but a very young one, and she still lives under my roof. She should at least respect the rules. Update 2. Why are my daughters so different? Yet they were raised the same way? I have 2 daughters. One 18, one 28, they both were goody two-shoes as kids, and both were raised by me, both live at home, and both grew up religious, both were also major people pleasers, and aren't mentally ill as far as I know. Yet the younger doesn't really talk to me. She's a bit more wild, she goes out with friends often, wore a fake nose piercing a bit, and isn't Christian anymore. She gets more and more assertive and confident the older she gets. The older texts and calls me all the time. She still asks me for permission for things. If she's not working, she has a career. She usually stays in her room laying down. She's introverted and complacent. Why is this? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Having read your many other posts, where even you admit how awful you were to her, I can't be surprised in the slightest. You clearly resent her being different than you, whereas your older seems more like you, or you've browbeaten her enough to be complacent, but wow, shocking. 2 humans are different than each other. Also, wild for wanting to have friends and not sit at home being yelled at and lectured by her mom for wanting to not be sheltered, starved from the world. I'm beginning to think you're either trolling or really, really obtuse. I truly feel so sorry for both of your children. Reply. I don't resent her. I'm just kind of laughing about how they were both so similar in their youth, but are now 2 different people. And yes, I need to work on the damage I caused to her. My oldest daughter even agrees that the youngest is trying too hard to be like her peers by going out and such. She's not in danger, but part of me wishes she was still the quiet kid she was pre-COVID. At least she's learning to speak up for herself. Commenter 2. You're not laughing. You're actively still trying to make her this complacent, scared of the world stay-at-home person. You've very clearly expressed how much you resent her, and actively try to keep her home, because God forbid she make friends. And yes, it's clear you wish she was still the person she was before she finally pushed back. Also, actively denying her help for her OCD is a monster move, to then also say no mental illness. But not surprising because of the way you treated it. I truly hope she does escape for college and learn that this is so far from normal. Your parents should love you, and support you, and want you to be an adult with friends and a life of your own. A parent shouldn't browbeat you into complacency and make you fear leaving the house. Commenter 3. Simple. Your older daughter has had 10 extra years of your emotional abuse, and is just that more ground down, while your younger one has seen what happened to her sister, and has probably internalized the lesson that she's not gonna tolerate that crap. Reply, that's fair. I made a lot of mistakes in my parenting. My youngest thinks her older sister is prettified and codependent. Something her community college counselor told her. I looked up the terms and I can't help but agree. She hasn't moved out of guilt, and she feels responsible for me. I've created a monster. As for the youngest, I and my older daughter are scared she's gonna act wild for the sake of fitting in and get in trouble. Commenter 4. So not only are you rude to your younger daughter to her face, you also trash talk her behind her back with her older sister? The teenage years were exactly the time both of your children should have been learning to socialize with their peers, to develop their critical thinking skills for the real world along with fitting in or not, and making good choices about all those things. You denied both of them that opportunity. How exactly do you expect either of your children to function in the world when you won't give them a chance to even experience the world in the first place? What exactly is your plan? Both of them go to a job, come home, do nothing and live with you until you die? You expect them to never have friends? Never develop romantic partnerships? Not have children of their own? Not have hobbies they enjoy? To never travel or explore the world? That's not worrying about your kids? That's downright cruelty. Stories number 19. Boyfriend's mom invited me to be in family pictures, but my family says it's weird. Hi. So I 20F have been dating my boyfriend 20M for almost a year now. Our 1-year anniversary is next month. We're in a serious relationship. We've talked about marriage, and both know that's where we're headed. His family does professional photos every other year, and this fall is when they're scheduled to do them again. His mom actually asked me to be in the pictures, which honestly made me really happy. I've been included in a lot of family things already. I've gone to his siblings' birthday parties, one of his brother's band concerts, a wedding reception, and I've met a bunch of extended family. It feels like I'm part of their circle, so I thought it was sweet that they want me in something special like family photos. Obviously, I understand that no relationship is 100% guaranteed, and there's always the chance we could break up. So I don't expect to be in every single photo they take. I know they'll do some with just their immediate family, and I think that's normal and totally fine. The problem is, when I mentioned it to my mom, she said, "Why would they want you in those pictures?" My sister agreed it was strange, and my best friend said she sees both sides. She told me she dated her boyfriend for 3 years, and he was never in her family's photos. But she also admitted that maybe that was a bit extreme. So now I'm kind of second-guessing myself. I don't feel weird about being in the photos. We're serious, and his mom invited me, so I feel like it's fine. But my family's reaction makes me wonder if I'm missing something. Is it actually unusual to be in your partner's family pictures after a year? Should I just enjoy being included, or should I be cautious about it? I know I'm going to say yes to being in them. I guess I just never thought about it in the perspective that my family and best friend have. Relevant comments, commenter 1. Do they truly think it's more appropriate to leave you out and make it clear you're not part of the family? Says more about your family than theirs. They'd totally exclude your BF from family events. Reply, you know it's crazy that you brought that up, because I literally had a conversation about this with my mom yesterday. I've been telling her for a while that our family needs to update our family pictures because we all look so different now. And I said we should do some this fall, and she literally said, if we do some, he can't be in them. Commenter 2. Nah. If you're in a serious relationship, it's not weird. Your family is just not as open to me mended a his is. If you like being a part of his family and it sounds like you do, enjoy the love and be grateful that your new family is a good one. Commenter 3. Even if it is weird, what is it going to hurt? There will be a story to tell when they look back. Oh yeah, that was X's girlfriend at the time. But that is just my perspective. Commenter 4. I think it is the sweetest thing that your boyfriend's mother invited you to be in the photos. It is an honor she bestowed on you. It would be sad, if not rude, to decline. Please accept, especially because that is what you have stated you want to do. Update. Boyfriend's mom invited me to be in family pictures. But my family says it's weird, so we had the pictures today. And honestly, it went way smoother than I expected. My boyfriend's mom basically took charge. She was kind of the boss of the whole thing, telling everyone where to stand and what combos to do. Since it was at a park, she had a list and moved us around a lot. I ended up being in almost all of the photos. The only ones I wasn't in were just the sibling shots, but I was in everything else. At first I thought it was a little strange, but then it hit me that they really do see me as part of the family already. His mom even had us do specific combos like me plus my boyfriend, me plus him plus his brother and sister-in-law, me plus him plus both his parents, etc. So yeah, I was definitely included. Some people in the comments on my first post said I should step aside for some pictures. I didn't end up doing that. Honestly, with the way his mom was running things, it would have been super awkward if I suddenly refused to be in certain shots. It just wouldn't have fit the vibe for those who guessed surprise engagement. Nope, not this time, although I wouldn't have minded lol. But overall, you guys were right. His family does see me as part of their circle, and after today, I really do feel that too. Some of you mentioned my mom might be a little jealous, and I can kind of see that. I think my life looks different from what hers did at my age, and she probably also doesn't want me to get hurt. In the end, I realize there isn't a universal right or wrong here. Every family handles this stuff differently. But I'm glad I said yes, and I truly appreciate all the advice and perspectives you guys gave me on my original post. Comments. Commenter 1. I love that they included you. but it wouldn't be shocking if they took some without you as well. I see people on the Photoshop request sub all the time asking to remove someone's former partner from family photos. The fact that they know it's possible you won't be together forever and still chose to include you means they love and accept you, and that they're likely hoping you'll be his forever. That's worth remembering. Commenter 2. Sounds like you handled it perfectly. Embracing their welcome shows you belong. Sometimes family worry comes from love, but it's great you're feeling included and confident. Keep trusting your gut. Stories number 20. I am trying so incredibly hard to avoid falling down the rabbit hole of misandry. Men are so insistent that sexism and misogyny are not as widespread as they are. The more men I interact with, the more my gut is telling me they really are all the same. Yes, I know, not all men. My experience is not the universal one. I have bias. I should give more men a shot, etc., etc. But unfortunately, when you start seeing sexism, you can't stop. It is everywhere. I am confident when I say the majority of experiences I and any women in my life have had with males as friends, peers, or romantic partners are majorly negative. They seem to constantly sexualize, belittle, infantilize, and disrespect women. God forbid a woman behave like a man, have sexual needs like a man, or ask something emotionally fulfilling of a male partner or friend. We are deemed irrational, hysterical, needy, naggy. The amount of women who seemingly parent their adult male partners is alarming. With the far-right push in the media lately, I'm not surprised. But it feels like every damn day news comes out about one of the good ones being a predator or a creep. Or I find something out about a male in local circles, and it just reinforced the gut feeling that has been emphasized from past experiences. I am so sick of men viewing women as flashlights and maids and mommies. We are people. We are no more irrational, hysterical, emotional than any given man. I am so sick of how men regard women as a whole, and it is only getting worse. How can I convince myself it's not all men when every man seems dead set on proving me wrong? Commenter 1. So much talk about misandry, you'd think women enslaved men and rid them of their voting rights, kept them as maids, kept them as sexual slaves, exchanged them for political and economical favors, still have countries where men have to don clothing covering them from head to toe with no education rights, no working rights, no voting rights, not even talking rights. Like what misandry, that's a comment on the internet. Scroll on, not sure which sub I found this on, but so true. Commenter 2. It's like someone standing on your foot when you say, "Get off my foot." That's a reaction to pain. If they respond with, "Why are you so aggressive towards me?" they are framing your self-defense as an unprovoked attack, completely ignoring the fact that they are causing you pain. The person reacting to the pain is not the problem. The person causing the pain is commenter 3. Misogyny has had a huge impact on the world. Think of Indian selective abortions, mass pedophilia that ruled the world not long ago, gigantic number of rapes and robberies committed by men, wars, genital mutilation of pre-puberty girls. A single misogynist can destroy multiple women. On the contrary, societal vision of misandry is women's unwillingness to give away our own resources. If a strong no to sharing my assets with men is misandry, if "I don't care what you think of me" is destructive to dudes, then I guess I am a misandrist. Commenter 4. I just came from a thread where a teen girl was talking about how a teen boy raped her. There are so many men just defending the rapist. Yeah, nah, it's too late for me. I'm so tired. Fuck them. Reply. I just saw a post earlier today about a 12-year-old boy who shot and murdered his 16-year-old sister before raping her corpse, I believe, 8 times. Sorry, but I can be convinced that that wasn't a misogynistic act. Apparently their services were held jointly too, which is soul-crushing knowing what he did to his own damn sister. Stories number 21. I hate the way my sister is raising her kid. My sister and her husband are both incredibly smart people, and they're trying to raise their daughter Amanda to also be really smart. But really, they've set their child up to be the weird kid. They never baby-talked for her entire life. No mama or dada, no lovies, doggies, not even a yummy. It was always the full words, and they had her use full words when talking about anything too. So now they have a 5-year-old running around talking like a tiny professor, which is cute if you're an adult watching them correctly use excessive in a sentence, but makes her stick out among a bunch of other kids who have no idea what it means. It also took her way longer to start speaking at all than our younger cousins or their children. The kid is 5 years old, and has never seen any kind of TV that isn't Steve Irwin reruns or used a touchscreen for anything, which isn't necessarily bad, but it does mean that she doesn't know any Disney movies. She's never seen any Bluey, played any games, or anything else that the rest of the class is into and therefore can't join in when they're talking about that kind of thing. It's making her stick out even more. At pickup yesterday, just about everyone was singing songs from Trolls and she was just standing off to the side watching. Some of their test taking is also done on tablets, and she has no idea what to do when she's handed one. And the teacher doesn't seem to know what to do with a kid that needs instructions on how to navigate them. This is her first year in a group environment. Previously, she's always been watched either by family or by a babysitter, so no daycare or preschool of any kind. As a result, this kid is absolutely miserable at school, where not only does she have to fight to get the only adult to pay attention to her, but all the other kids want little to nothing to do with her. She sticks out, has pretty much no friends, and she really hates it. I watch her for a couple of hours after school lets out until their parents get off work, and it's so awful asking how the day went and hearing them describe being left out or made fun of. Now the first kids are having birthday parties, and my niece isn't invited to either of the ones happening over the weekend, even though basically the entire class is going. I really hate seeing her so miserable. I feel like if she'd been in group care previously, or even seen some of the most popular shows or movies a little, she would have such an easier time with making friends. But I can't say any of this out loud to my sister, or even my parents who like how traditional her upbringing is, and constantly go on long-winded rants about how technology is killing society, and we're all becoming Wall-E. There's nothing I can really do but watch her be miserable coming home, and it fucking sucks. I can comfort her all I want, but the next day it's all the same. Comments, commenter 1. She will pick it all up, whether she uses it at home or not. My 4-year-old comes home every day talking about Star Wars and Pokemon. She knows the characters by name. We have never watched either. I don't even know anything about them. But she picks it up from the others, same with the tablet. She'll learn to use it at school whether she uses it at home or not. I think in early schooling it can be obvious who was in group care as a baby, toddler, or preschooler, but I'm sure that eventually those kids integrate and you can no longer tell. Commenter 2. Navigating how to parent nowadays is hard. Everyone is trying to do the right things while we often don't know what is. Finding a balance between being an iPad kid and how they raise her, for example. Keep in mind, she spends a fair amount of time in school. She will catch up. She will pick up on what other kids like and do. It's just gonna take time. She will just have a harder time adjusting, and honestly, who TF invites a whole class and not one child? Commenter 3. I was a teacher, and I've taught at basically all levels. Your niece will adjust, and she'll end up absorbing a lot of the missed pop culture from her peers at school. It might take her a little longer since she's used to being mostly one-on-one for care, but she will catch up. To the other points, there's honestly nothing wrong with anything else her parents are doing. Having children use a full vocabulary from an early age isn't a detriment to them, and there are a ton of other reasons for why she may have started talking later than your other nibblings. Educational kids shows like Steve Irwin's show are great for them. Kids her age don't need access to tablets and phones and other types of technology. If they're using it at school, she'll pretty quickly learn how to use it for school-related things. A teacher that doesn't seem to know what to do with a kid that needs instructions on how to navigate technology is the problem in that situation. Not your niece. That teacher is going to run into plenty of students that don't have access to tablets at home for a number of reasons. Some kids will be like your niece and not have access to tablets because their parents decided it's best. Some students might have religious reasons. Some students might not be in the correct bracket to afford a tablet at homes. I understand that it's hard to watch someone you care about struggle, especially when they're so young. She's going to be all right in the end. Keep talking to her about her day at school while you're watching her. Maybe lightly encourage her to interact with her peers more. You can ask her about her classmates and the activities she's doing in school. See if there's anyone she's paired up with or mentions and encourage her to interact with them more. Commenter 4. I mean, you're not supposed to baby talk your kids. It can negatively impact their development. But as far as the rest, she will get there. I mean, her parents should be helping her with tech literacy, just because of the world we live in. But she will learn at school. Also, as far as the other kids, she will find her people. I get it's hard for her since she doesn't know the stuff they talk about. But as she integrates more hopefully, she can find someone she has something in common with. Does her school offer any activities for students like clubs? I know she's little, but my elementary school had reading, art, science, and a couple other clubs for kids. Stories. Number 22. My best friend doesn't know I'm in love with her, and I don't know if I'll ever tell her. I don't really know where to start. Because this feels like one of those stories that's been building quietly for years. The kind you only notice when it's already too late. I'm 30. She's 30. And we've been best friends for almost a decade. Her name's Lauren. We met freshman year of college. Two broke kids in a dorm that smelled like ramen and bad decisions. We bonded over music and sarcasm. She was the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly make everyone laugh. Not because she tried, but because she just was that magnetic. I was quieter, more the observe and make a dry comment later type. Somehow we clicked. We've been through everything together. Breakups, job changes, bad apartments, nights we stayed up until 3 a.m. Talking about life, love, and all the stuff we swore we'd figure out someday. She's dated a few people, so have I. But we always came back to each other. It's always been safe, easy, no drama, no awkwardness, just us. Until recently, about 6 months ago, she broke up with her long-term boyfriend, Matt. They'd been together for almost 3 years. And everyone thought they were going to get married. I'll be honest, I never liked him. Not because he was a bad guy, but because he made her smaller somehow. Lauren's the type of person who fills a room when she laughs, and with him, she started dimming that light. When they broke up, she called me crying. I went over with Thai food and a bottle of wine. She cried, then laughed, then cried again. I stayed until 2 a.m., cleaning up tissues and refilling her glass. Before I left, she hugged me, tight like she didn't want to let go, and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And that's when it hit me, that little tug in my chest that I'd been ignoring for years. I brushed it off, told myself it was just empathy, that I was being protective. But then it kept happening. The way she'd look at me when she laughed, the way she'd rest her head on my shoulder when we watched movies, the way she called me her person when people asked why we were so close. At first, I thought maybe I was just lonely. Everyone around us was getting married, having kids, posting engagement photos. Maybe I just wanted someone, and she was the closest person. But the more I tried to convince myself of that, the less it worked. It wasn't about convenience, it was her. I started noticing little things, like how she stirs her coffee 3 times before drinking it, how she talks to dogs like they understand English, how she always forgets her umbrella, no matter how many times I remind her. And now, every time I see her, I feel this pull I can't control. We still hang out all the time. We get brunch on Sundays, go hiking on weekends, sometimes cook dinner together. But lately, I've caught myself watching her too long when she smiles. I feel that stupid rush in my chest that I used to get when I was 16. And I hate it, because if I tell her how I feel and she doesn't feel the same, I'll lose her, and she's not just my crush, she's my person. The thought of her pulling away, even a little, terrifies me. I've had chances to say something. There have been moments where it felt like maybe she felt it too. Like the night we went to a small concert downtown. We were both a little tipsy, laughing, pressed up against the crowd. She looked at me for a long time, then said softly, "You know, I've never met anyone who gets me the way you do." I wanted to say something then. Anything instead, I just smiled like an idiot and said, "That's because I'm awesome." She laughed. But for a split second, her smile faded, like she was waiting for something I didn't say. I've been replaying that moment for months. A few weeks ago, she started dating again. Nothing serious. Just apps and casual dinners. She told me about a guy named Ben. Said he was nice but kind of boring. I nodded, pretending not to care while my chest burned. The worst part is, she still talks to me about her dates. Still asks me for advice. Still sends me screenshots of texts asking what I think. And every time she does, I feel like I'm slowly being crushed under the weight of my own secret. My friends say I should tell her. One of them said, "Dude, it's obvious you love her. You're miserable." And maybe I am. But what if I tell her and she pulls away? What if she stops texting me good morning? Or stops calling me just to vent about her day? I'd rather have her as a friend than risk losing her completely. But then there are days when I think, maybe she feels it too. She'll reach for my hand while crossing the street, or rest her head on my arm during a movie, or send me texts like, "You're my favorite human." How am I supposed to not read into that? Last weekend we went to a friend's wedding together. She wore this deep green dress and looked breathtaking. During the reception, they played a slow song, and she dragged me onto the dance floor. We swayed for a while, just talking softly. At one point, she rested her head on my chest, and it felt like home. When the song ended, she looked up at me, eyes glassy from the champagne, and said, "You know, sometimes I wonder if we missed our chance." My heart stopped. I asked, "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, someone called her over for a photo. and the moment was gone. She never brought it up again. I've been thinking about it nonstop since then. What if she meant it? What if that was her way of telling me she feels the same? What if I blew it again? Every day since, I've gone back and forth in my head. Tell her. Don't tell her. Take the risk, or keep the friendship safe. The truth is, I don't know if I'm brave enough. Because if I tell her and she doesn't feel the same, it'll break me. But if I don't tell her, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. Sometimes I imagine us years from now, both married to other people, still friends, still close, still pretending we don't remember that one night at that wedding. And that thought hurts more than rejection ever could. I've loved her quietly for years. I know her favorite coffee order, the songs she skips when she's sad, the way her voice changes when she's tired. I know she always hums before she falls asleep, that she hates the sound of ticking clocks, and that she still keeps the same Lucky Charm keychain she's had since college. And yet she doesn't know how I feel. Maybe someday I'll tell her. Maybe I'll finally stop being afraid of losing her and start being afraid of never trying. But for now, I'll keep sitting next to her, laughing at her jokes, driving her home after late nights, pretending my heart doesn't ache every time she says, "You're the best friend I've ever had," because sometimes loving someone means staying where they need you, even if it's not where you wish you could be. Update. I finally told her. I didn't plan to. It just happened. It's been a few months since I wrote that post, and a lot has changed. Some things I expected, some I didn't. After that wedding, Lauren and I kept doing what we always did. Brunch, late-night calls, dumb inside jokes. But something felt different. Or maybe I felt different every time she smiled at me. It was harder to pretend that I didn't want to kiss her. Every time she said, "You're my best friend," I wanted to scream that she was so much more than that. Then, one night, everything sort of came to a head. We were hanging out at her apartment. She'd just gotten back from a date, one that apparently went fine. That was the word she used, fine. She wasn't glowing. She wasn't giddy. She just looked tired. We were sitting on her couch, half watching a movie neither of us cared about, when she sighed and leaned against me. "Do you ever feel like you're wasting your time?" she asked. I asked what she meant. She said, like, dating people who you know aren't right, just because you don't want to be alone? I said, yeah. She was quiet for a while, tracing circles on her glass with her thumb. Then she looked at me and said, "You're the only person I've ever felt completely myself around." I don't know what that says about me, but sometimes it scares me. I don't know what happened, but something inside me just broke open. All the restraint, all the fear, gone, I said. "Maybe it scares you because it means something." She blinked at me. "What do you mean?" And before I could stop myself, I said, "I'm in love with you." Just like that. No build-up, no grand gesture. Just words that had been sitting on my tongue for years, finally set free. The silence after felt like the longest moment of my life. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at me, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. I started to panic, thinking I'd ruined everything. Then she whispered, "You can't just say that," I said. "Why not?" "It's true." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why now?" she asked. "Why after all this time?" I told her the truth, that I was scared, that I didn't want to lose her, that I'd convinced myself she didn't feel the same. Even though every part of me hoped she did, she didn't respond. She just got up, said she needed a minute, and walked to her kitchen. I sat there on the couch, staring at her empty wine glass, my heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. When she came back, her face was softer. She sat next to me, close but not touching. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "You're my best friend. I've always loved you. Just not like that. Or maybe I did and didn't realize it. I don't know. It hurt, God, it hurt, but at the same time, it wasn't rejection. It was confusion. It was honesty." We didn't talk much after that. I went home that night, feeling both lighter and emptier than I ever had. The next few days were awkward. Our texts were short. Calls didn't happen. For the first time in years, there was this gap between us. I thought that was it. That I'd done exactly what I feared and ruined everything. Then, about a week later, she called. She said, "Can you come over?" When I got there, she was sitting on her balcony, wrapped in a blanket. She handed me a beer and said, "I've been thinking." She told me she'd gone on another date a few days earlier, and halfway through she realized she was comparing everything about him to me. The way he laughed, the way he talked, the way he didn't know her little quirks the way I did, she said. And that's when I realized I might have been lying to myself. For years, my heart was in my throat. She looked right at me and said, "I think I love you too." I didn't even respond at first. I just stared at her, waiting for the catch. But there wasn't one. She reached out, put her hand on my face and kissed me. It wasn't some movie moment with fireworks or swelling music. It was soft, a little hesitant, but it felt right. Like finally exhaling after holding my breath for a decade. Since then, we've been together. Slowly, carefully, it's been about 4 months, and it still feels surreal sometimes. We agreed to take things one day at a time, not to rush or force it. The weirdest part? The friendship hasn't gone away. It's still there. The jokes, the comfort, the late-night talks. But now there's something new layered on top of it. Something warmer, steadier. There are moments when we'll be watching a show, and she'll rest her head on my chest like she used to. And I'll think, we did it. We actually made it here. It's not perfect. We still have to navigate years of habits. Things like learning to communicate as partners instead of just best friends, we've argued. We've had to talk about boundaries, about fears, about not wanting to lose what made us us. But she's my favorite person. And now I get to call her my girlfriend. Sometimes I'll catch her looking at me, smiling that small, quiet smile she gets when she's thinking too much. I'll ask what's on her mind, and she'll just say, "I wish we'd done this sooner." I'll laugh and say, "Yeah, me too, but truthfully, I think the timing was right. Maybe we both needed to grow into the kind of people who could love each other properly. Maybe the years of friendship were what built the foundation we needed. Whatever it is, I'm grateful, so yeah," I told her. And it was terrifying and messy, and not at all like I imagined, but it was worth it. Every bit of it. Final update 1 year later, and I finally understand what real love feels like. It's been a little over a year since I told Lauren how I felt, and I figured I owed everyone who followed that post some closure. A lot has changed. Some good, some messy, all of it worth it. When I wrote that first post, I was terrified of losing her. Now I can't imagine a version of my life where she isn't right here next to me. Our first few months together were interesting, to say the least. We both thought it would be easy since we'd already been best friends for so long. But being together changed everything. Suddenly, the person I used to joke with about bad dates was the person I was actually dating. We had to unlearn a lot of patterns, like brushing things off instead of talking about them, or pretending everything was fine to keep the peace. We went from best friends to partners, and that shift was beautiful, but it was also uncomfortable at times. I remember one night early on, she got quiet after dinner. When I asked what was wrong, she said, "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for us to realize we're better as friends." That hit me harder than I expected. I realized we were both scared, not of being together, but of ruining the thing that had been our safety net for almost a decade. We talked about it for hours that night. She told me that for years she'd buried feelings she didn't fully understand, convincing herself she was just overly attached, and I admitted that I'd done the same. That conversation became kind of our blueprint. Total honesty. Even when it's uncomfortable, it's not always romantic or easy, but it's real. There have been rough patches. We moved in together about 6 months ago, and that tested us in new ways. You learn a lot about someone when you share a space. Their quirks, their routines, their weird little habits. She leaves wet towels on the bed sometimes, and I'm apparently incapable of putting a dish directly in the dishwasher instead of on the counter next to it. But we laugh about it now. We've built a rhythm together. We wake up, make coffee, take turns walking the dog we adopted last fall, a scruffy mutt named Murphy, who instantly decided Lauren's lap was his permanent home. We both work from home some days, which means a lot of afternoons spent sharing a desk, headphones on, occasionally passing notes to each other like we're in middle school again. Sometimes I look up from my laptop and see her across from me. Hair in a messy bun, focused, sipping from the mug I bought her that says Chaos Coordinator. And it hits me all over again how lucky I am. There's this quiet comfort in the way we exist together. It's not fireworks all the time. It's not movie-level drama. It's better. It's peace. A few months ago, I asked her if she ever regretted that we waited so long. She smiled and said, "No, because if we'd done this earlier, we probably would have screwed it up." And she's right. The years we spent as just friends gave us something solid. Trust, patience, understanding. We know each other's worst moods, bad habits, and emotional triggers. There's no pretending, no guessing. She still does that thing where she talks to dogs like they're people, still forgets her umbrella every single time it rains, still sings off-key when she's cooking, and I still love every bit of it. We've also had to deal with people's reactions. Our friend group took a while to adjust. Apparently, everyone knew this was coming, except us. My mom actually cried when I told her. She said, "Finally. I thought you two would never figure it out. The best part? Lauren's happy, like really happy, and that's all I ever wanted. Last month, on our anniversary, we went back to the little bar where we danced at that wedding. The night she said she wondered if we'd missed our chance. We had dinner, then they played a slow song, and she laughed and said, 'Looks like we didn't.' We danced again. Same song, same kind of night, except this time when she looked up at me, there wasn't any uncertainty, just love. After the song ended, I told her I'd been carrying a ring in my jacket pocket for weeks. Waiting for the right moment, her eyes went wide. I said, "I don't know if I believe in fate, but I believe in us. And I don't ever want to wonder what if again." She didn't even let me finish before she said yes. It wasn't some big spectacle. No one else around us even noticed, but it was perfect, just us, in the place where everything started to change. We haven't set a wedding date yet. We're not rushing it. We're just living together. Sometimes I still catch myself thinking about that scared version of me who wrote the first post. The guy who sat on her couch, heart pounding, too afraid to tell her the truth. If I could talk to him now, I'd tell him to stop worrying so much. Because love, real love, isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up every day, even when you're scared. It's about choosing someone over and over again. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. I used to think confessing my feelings would risk ruining the friendship that meant everything to me. But it turns out that friendship was exactly what made love possible. And now when she's half asleep next to me, hand resting on my chest, Murphy snoring at our feet, I realize I didn't ruin anything. I just finally let it become what it was always meant to be. Stories number 23. My neighbor kept blocking my driveway, so I decided to teach him a slow, quiet lesson he'd never forget. I live in a quiet little cul-de-sac in the suburbs, the kind of place where everyone waves, lawns are trimmed to HOA standards, and the most exciting thing that happens is someone forgetting trash day. It's peaceful mostly, except for my neighbor, Chad now, before anyone jumps to conclusions. I don't have a vendetta against truck owners, drive what you want, but Chad drives one of those oversized lifted pickups that looks like it's compensating for something. Huge tires, chrome everything. Custom exhaust that rattles windows when he starts it up at 6 a.m. When I bought my house 3 years ago, he was already here. At first he was fine. We had the typical neighborly interactions, nods across the driveway, a wave when collecting mail, the occasional, "How's it going?" In passing then, a few months back, I noticed a problem. Chad had started parking his truck just a little over the line, his back bumper creeping into the edge of my driveway. Not enough to be illegal, not enough that I could call anyone, but just enough to make my life harder. My driveway isn't huge. Single car width, narrow slope. With his truck there, I had to pull out at an awkward angle, cranking the wheel like I was parallel parking in downtown Boston. Every morning became a slow-motion ballet of frustration. At first I assumed it was accidental. We all have off days, right? Maybe he wasn't paying attention to where the line fell, so one evening when he was out washing his truck, I walked over and said, as politely as I could, "Hey, man. I think your truck's just a bit over my driveway line. It makes it kind of tough to get out sometimes." He smiled, that tight, fake smile people use when they're already annoyed. "Oh yeah? My bad, bro. Didn't realize. Cool. Problem solved, I thought, except it wasn't next morning. I walk out and there's his truck. Same spot. Bumper kissing the edge of my driveway again. Okay, maybe he forgot, except it kept happening. Day after day, week after week. Then one morning, I caught him outside again. This time, I didn't sugarcoat it. "Hey, Chad, you're still parking a bit over the line. I've had to do like a 6-point turn every morning just to get out. Can you slide it up a few feet?" He didn't even look guilty. He just shrugged and said, "There's still enough room though, right?" I blinked at him. "Technically, yeah, but..." "Then what's the problem?" he said, and just walked off. That's when I knew he wasn't clueless. He was doing it on purpose. I'm not a confrontational guy by nature, but something about the smugness in his tone flipped a switch in my brain. It wasn't just about the driveway anymore. It was the principle. He was being inconsiderate because he knew he could get away with it. So I waited. For about 3 months I let it go. I maneuvered my car every morning like a stunt driver, muttering under my breath and fantasizing about passive-aggressive revenge scenarios. Until last Tuesday I'd just gotten home early from work, and Chad was outside mowing his lawn. His truck, of course, was in its usual spot. hanging halfway over my driveway like a rude guest overstaying their welcome. I parked my car in front of my house as usual, then glanced at the curb behind his truck. The street there was public, no parking restrictions, no fire hydrants, nothing. And then, like divine inspiration, a plan formed. I slowly pulled my car up behind his truck, leaving a perfectly legal amount of space. I wasn't blocking his driveway, wasn't violating any laws. I was just parked in a way that would make it inconvenient for him to get out. To be clear, I didn't box him in. He could still get out. But to do it, he'd have to do the same awkward multi-point turn I had to do every morning. I parked, locked my doors, and went inside. 20 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. I open it to find Chad standing there, arms crossed, looking mildly irritated. "Hey man," he says, "can you move your car? You're blocking me in." I peeked out. His truck had maybe 2 feet of clearance on either side. Plenty of room for someone who's been telling me for months that I have enough space. "Oh, I'm not blocking you," I said, giving him my friendliest smile. "You've got enough room. Just gotta do a few extra turns." The look on his face was priceless. He stood there, jaw working, trying to think of a comeback. Finally, he just muttered, "Whatever, dude," and stomped off. I closed the door, grinning like an idiot. From the window, I watched him try to back out. It took him nearly 5 minutes and multiple reverses, exactly like me every morning. Sweet, glorious symmetry. The next morning, I walked out expecting to see his truck in its usual spot. But it wasn't. He'd parked farther up his driveway, leaving my side completely clear. Victory. I thought that'd be the end of it. But a few days later, I'm walking my dog and my other neighbor, Tom, the guy who lives across the street, waves me over. "Hey man," he says with a smirk. "So I heard you gave Chad a little taste of his own medicine?" Apparently, Chad had been complaining to everyone on the block that I'd trapped him in. Tom just laughed and said, "I told him maybe he should learn how to park before he blames anyone else." Since then, Chad's been oddly polite. He still revs his engine like he's starting a NASCAR race, but now he waves when he sees me. It's a strained wave, like it physically pains him, but I'll take it. I never said another word about the driveway. Didn't need to. Now every morning, I back out smoothly, no 6-point turn, no frustration. And every time I catch myself smiling just a little, remembering that one perfect line. There's still enough room though. A few weeks later, I noticed something that honestly made me laugh out loud. Chad had started parking his truck slightly closer to the opposite side, right against his own lawn, so close that his grass was getting shredded by the tires. Poetic justice. Sometimes revenge doesn't have to be dramatic or loud. Sometimes all it takes is a mirror. Let someone deal with the exact same nonsense they've been putting you through, and suddenly, they find religion in basic courtesy. Now, when new neighbors move in, I always tell them the same thing. Keep things polite, keep things neighborly, but if someone starts playing games with your space, remember, there's still enough room though. Update. My neighbor didn't learn his lesson. So the petty suburban Cold War officially began. Hey everyone, didn't expect this to blow up. I figured a few people would chuckle at my story and move on. But holy hell. I woke up to hundreds of notifications, people sharing their own driveway wars. And someone even DM'd me a picture of their neighbor's truck parked halfway across the sidewalk with the caption, "Chad lives here." So yeah, turns out my little taste of his own medicine trick didn't end the saga. It only started phase 2, after the last incident. Chad stopped parking on my side, which was great, for about 2 weeks. Everything was peaceful. I could pull out easily. The air smelled sweeter. Birds sang louder, all that. But of course, people like Chad don't just drop things quietly. The first sign that he was still salty came in the form of petty lawn warfare. I came home one evening and noticed a neat little line of grass clippings blown perfectly onto my side of the property line. Not like it drifted over naturally. This was intentional. His side was spotless. Mine looked like a salad bar exploded. Okay, cool, I can play that game. Next day, I mowed my lawn and returned the favor, gently blowing my clippings back across the invisible border. Not dumping, just a subtle reminder that I saw what he was doing. A few days later, I noticed he started edging his lawn about 3 inches past the property marker. It wasn't huge, but it was obvious enough that I'd notice. My dog even started peeing on his tires out of spite, untrained solidarity, I guess. Then, the real nonsense began. One Saturday morning, I get a knock on my door. It's not Chad this time. It's a woman in a bright yellow vest with a clipboard. She introduces herself as someone from the Neighborhood Beautification Committee. Now, I've lived here 3 years and have never once heard of a neighborhood beautification committee. Turns out it's not a real committee. It's just Chad's girlfriend, Becky, wearing an Amazon safety vest, trying to look official. She starts lecturing me about how my front garden bed is starting to look unkempt, and how, per HOA guidelines, you should maintain uniform curb appeal. I almost laughed out loud. I asked her, which section of the HOA bylaws says that? And she just froze and said, oh, Section 3? Yeah, nice try. Later that day, I saw her and Chad outside, laughing about something. And I swear she mouthed, got him. All right, if he wanted to escalate, I could escalate calmly. So I started documenting everything, dates, times, photos, the lawn clippings, the edging, even the fake committee visit. I wasn't planning to go nuclear, but I wanted ammo just in case. Then one evening, Karma decided to join my side. Around midnight, I was up watching TV when I heard a loud clunk, followed by a hiss. I peeked out the window. Chad had accidentally backed his giant truck into his own mailbox. The post was split, the box dangling off the hinge. He got out, looked around, and then quietly tried to prop it back up like nothing happened. The next morning, I walked over to get my mail, gave a friendly wave, and said, hey man, looks like your mailbox had a rough night. He froze, halfway through pulling weeds, and muttered, yeah, must have been some kids. Yeah, I said. Those kids sure drive a lifted F-250, huh? He glared. I smiled. After that, the weird tension simmered down. He stopped blowing grass onto my side, stopped edging past the line. I thought maybe, this suburban Cold War had ended with a quiet ceasefire. Then came the garbage can incident. Our trash gets picked up early Friday mornings. You're supposed to bring your bins in by noon. Otherwise the HOA can fine you. One morning, I wake up, look outside, and see my bins neatly lined up across his property line, like 10 feet over. Right in front of his mailbox. I hadn't moved them. So I walked out, grabbed my bins, and rolled them back. Didn't say a word. Next week, same thing. He was doing it at night, like a garbage bin ninja. So the week after, I zip-tied a little Bluetooth tracker under the lid of one bin, just to confirm it was him. Sure enough, around 11:45 p.m., my phone pinged. Movement detected. I opened the blinds, phone recording in hand, and there he was, barefoot, pajamas, dragging my recycling bin across the curb like he was sneaking through a war zone. I turned on my porch light. He froze mid-step like a raccoon caught in the trash. Evening, Chad, I said through the ring speaker. He dropped the bin and bolted. The next morning, his girlfriend came out to walk the dog and made a big show of pretending not to see me while she picked up an imaginary piece of trash near my driveway. After that, he finally stopped. I think he realized he wasn't going to win this one. These days, we exist in a state of awkward suburban peace. He parks properly, I mow my lawn, and every now and then, we both pretend to check our mail at the same time and do that fake polite nod. It's a delicate balance, mutual silent hatred wrapped in forced civility. But every now and then, when I back out of my driveway smoothly, without doing a single awkward turn, I glance over and think, all this could have been avoided if you'd just parked 3 feet to the left, buddy. Final update. My neighbor and I went from petty enemies to reluctant friends after a storm turned our street into a mess. Hey again, Reddit. It's been a while since I posted about the whole driveway war with my neighbor Chad, and honestly, I wasn't planning to come back with an update. The petty games, the trash bin shenanigans, the fake HOA visit, I figured that was the end of it. We were living in this tense but functional truce. Then Mother Nature decided to make us deal with our unresolved nonsense. About 3 weeks ago, a nasty thunderstorm rolled through our area. Wind gusts were hitting 60 miles, rain sideways, lightning cracking like artillery. Around midnight, the power went out across the neighborhood. I was sitting in the dark with a flashlight and a restless dog when I heard this loud crack and a weird scraping sound. I looked out the front window and saw a massive oak limb had snapped and come down, right across the street, crushing the front end of Chad's precious F-250. I'll admit, my first thought was, wow, karma works fast. But then I saw him outside in the pouring rain, shirtless, trying to move the branch by himself. Dude looked like he was fighting a bear with his bare hands. I hesitated for a second. We hadn't spoken in weeks. But finally I grabbed a rain jacket, grabbed my flashlight, and went over. When he saw me coming, he looked surprised but didn't say anything. I just said, "You're gonna kill yourself trying to move that thing solo?" Grabbed the other end. We wrestled with that branch for 20 minutes, slipping in the mud, grunting like cavemen. It didn't budge much, but we managed to clear enough space for him to get to the truck door and pull some of the smaller branches off the windshield. By the time we were done, we were both drenched and laughing like idiots at how bad it was. He finally broke the silence with, "Guess that's one way to keep me from blocking your driveway, huh?" I couldn't help it. I laughed. The next morning, the storm had passed. I was out in my yard clearing debris when Chad came over with 2 mugs of coffee. No sarcasm, no attitude, just said, "Figured you might need this." We ended up talking for almost an hour. Real talk, not the passive-aggressive stuff. Turns out he'd been dealing with a lot. Work stress, his girlfriend pressuring him to act more professional, money issues from the truck payments. He admitted he'd taken out his frustration in stupid ways. And I admitted I might have enjoyed messing with him a little too much. That conversation basically ended our Cold War. Over the next few days, we helped each other clean up storm debris. I lent him my chainsaw. He lent me his power washer. His truck insurance actually covered most of the damage, so he wasn't ruined financially, but his pride definitely took a hit. Then something wild happened. Becky, the fake beautification committee lady, actually came by to apologize. I was shocked, she said. I didn't realize how dumb that was until I saw you two out there helping each other in the rain. You guys looked like a damn movie scene. After that, the whole vibe of the neighborhood shifted. People who'd been watching our petty feud like a sitcom suddenly started waving again. Someone even made a joke in the neighborhood group chat like, "Glad to see the driveway war is officially over. Peace in our time." Now, Chad and I aren't best friends or anything, but it's normal. We actually talk, we'll wave when we're out front, sometimes grab a beer on the porch, even help each other with home projects. He admitted he was embarrassed by how childish the whole thing got. And I told him, "Hey man, suburban boredom makes people do weird things." Last weekend, we both ended up at a neighborhood barbecue. At one point, someone brought up our feud again. "Remember when you two were moving garbage bins like chess pieces?" And everyone started laughing. Chad raised his beer and said, "Yeah, that was before I realized the guy's actually not bad to have next door." Honestly, it felt good. I know it sounds cheesy, but the whole thing taught me a weird little lesson about pride and perspective. We were both so focused on being right that we forgot how stupid the argument actually was. A storm, a busted truck, and one long, muddy night later. It's hard to even remember why it mattered so much. Now when I pull out of my driveway, I don't have to do that 12-point turn anymore. The air feels lighter, not because the driveway's clear, but because the tension's gone. Sometimes we learn about peace in the most ridiculous ways. And every time it rains now, I glance at that same oak tree and think, guess the universe decided it was time for both of us to grow up. Stories number 24. My job is protecting people who don't even know I exist. I work private security for wealthy international students. The kind of kids who come to the U.S. to study at high-end universities but treat college like a never-ending vacation. I'm not talking about spoiled 19-year-olds with trust funds, though. Yeah, some of them are exactly that. I'm talking about people who come from families so rich that their allowance could pay off my mortgage twice. My job's pretty straightforward on paper. Protect them when they go out. No visible uniform, no badge, no bodyguard swagger, just me in regular clothes, staying close enough to keep them safe but far enough that they forget I'm there. They usually don't even know who I am. The parents or the university contracts me privately through a security company. I get a schedule of when the student's going out, where they'll be, who they'll be with, and I blend into the background. Sometimes I pretend to be another club goer. Sometimes I hang by the valet line. Sometimes I sit in a black SUV a block away with eyes on the exit. It's weird, living in this invisible space. I've spent hours in VIP lounges where I'm just that guy in the corner, nursing one beer, watching a group of kids spend 10 grand on champagne they barely touch. I started this job 3 years ago after leaving the military. I wasn't ready for a desk job, and I didn't want to go full law enforcement, so private security felt like a middle ground. I've seen my fair share of danger, overseas and here. But this job is different. It's quiet, controlled, until it's not. The first student I was assigned to was a guy named Ethan. His parents owned a company that basically printed money. He went to a major West Coast university, drove a custom G-Wagon, and lived in a condo that cost more than my entire block. But he was polite, always said thank you when I held a door, tipped generously, didn't make a scene. I thought, okay, maybe this won't be so bad. Then came the nights out. The thing about rich kids is that they live like the world has airbags. They think consequences are optional. I've seen Ethan and his friends race Lamborghinis down Sunset, argue with bouncers like they own the building, and leave their wallets on bar counters because they know someone will return them. My job was to make sure that sense of invincibility didn't get them killed. One night stands out. It was their first week back after winter break. Big celebration at a rooftop bar downtown. I was stationed inside, dressed casually, pretending to scroll through my phone while keeping eyes on the group. Ethan was with 3 friends, 2 other guys and a girl named Bella, who was studying art and had that carefree, wild energy that comes with never hearing the word no. Around midnight, I noticed a guy hovering nearby, older, maybe late 30s. Didn't look like he belonged. Not the clothes, not the vibe. He kept circling the group, trying to make small talk, then backing off. My gut told me he was up to something. Ethan didn't notice. Bella was too drunk to care. The guy eventually got close enough to slip something into one of their drinks. I saw it, clear as day. I didn't think. I just moved, I walked over, grabbed the glass, and accidentally spilled it right across the table. Bella started to yell, but before she could, I leaned in and said quietly, "That drink was spiked. Don't make a scene. Just act natural." She froze. I flagged down a server, handed off a description of the guy, and within seconds, the bouncers were escorting him out. I followed discreetly, confirmed with my team that he was detained, and went back to my post. Ethan never even realized what happened. Later, I saw him laughing, still dancing, oblivious. Bella caught my eye once, though. She didn't say anything, but she gave me a small nod. That was enough. Sometimes it's like that. I'll stop something before it becomes a headline, and no one will ever know. That's part of the deal. Other nights are slower, boring even. I'll follow a student's car from their dorm to a bar, sit outside, monitor exits, check crowd flow, make sure no one's tailing them. I've broken up fights before they started, pulled someone out of a bad Uber, intercepted people pretending to be friends of friends. But the scariest nights aren't when things go bad. It's when they almost do. There was this one kid, Marcus, parents from overseas. Huge real estate family. He wasn't arrogant, just lonely. Always out, always surrounded by people. But you could tell none of them were really his friends. One night, I followed him to a private house party up in the hills. It was one of those sprawling mansions where you can get lost between the kitchen and the pool. Marcus was drunk by 11 p.m. I mean gone around midnight. I saw him talking to a woman who didn't look like one of the regulars. Too composed, too aware. My instincts kicked in again. They went upstairs. I waited 5 minutes, then made my move, pretending to be looking for a bathroom. The door was cracked just enough to see her going through his pockets while he was half passed out on the bed. I stepped inside quietly, said, "You've got 30 seconds to leave before I call LAPD. She froze, then smiled. "You a security?" "Yeah." "You're doing a great job," she said, grabbed her purse, and walked out like nothing happened. Marcus didn't even remember it the next morning. I walked him back to his dorm, made sure he got inside safely, and went home. A week later, I got a thank you envelope from his father. No note, just cash. That's how it goes. No recognition. No good job, just money and silence. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. This job pays well, I get health insurance, hazard bonuses, flexible hours, but sometimes, when I'm sitting in my car at 3 a.m., watching some kid stumble out of a club with his friends, I wonder what I'm actually protecting them from. The world. Themselves? You start to see patterns. The same kind of loneliness, just wrapped in different brands. These kids have everything. Money, freedom, influence, but most of them are lost. They live for the next night out because the day after always feels empty. I've seen some of them spiral, dropping out, moving home, getting into drugs. I've also seen some grow up. Quit drinking, start companies, help others. I've been there for both versions. Every once in a while, one of them finds out about me, usually because of a close call, like the time Bella, the girl from the rooftop, ran into me at a cafe months later. She stared for a moment, then said, "You're him, aren't you?" The guy from that night. I didn't confirm or deny it, just smiled and said, "Glad you're okay." She looked at me for a long moment, then said, "Do you ever get tired of watching everyone else live?" I didn't know how to answer, because she was right. Sometimes it feels like my life is just waiting. Waiting for someone else's danger, someone else's mistake, someone else's chaos. But then there are moments, like when I stop something bad before it happens, or when a parent sends a quiet thank you through my company, that I remember why I do it. Not for the money. Not for the thrill. But because someone needs to, the job isn't glamorous. It's not like the movies, most of the time. It's just sitting in dark cars, scanning crowds, staying alert while everyone else is trying to forget who they are for a night. But every now and then, I get to walk away knowing that because I was there, quietly, invisibly, someone got to go home safe, and that's enough. Update. Something happened on a job that made me rethink everything. It's been about 8 months since I first wrote about doing private security for wealthy international students. I didn't expect anyone to care. I just needed to get something off my chest. But that post blew up, and I read a lot of the comments. People had opinions. Some thought what I do was cool. Others said I was babysitting rich kids, and a few said I was just enabling bad behavior. I didn't respond to any of it, but I thought about it a lot back then. I said I wasn't sure what I was protecting these kids from, the world or themselves. Well, I got my answer a few months ago. I got assigned to a new client. Her name was Olivia, 19, freshman at a major West Coast university, from an insanely wealthy family based overseas. Her father was a big name in finance, the kind of guy who could buy a small country if he wanted to. She was his only kid, and she was different, unlike most of the students I'd worked with. Olivia didn't go out much. No flashy cars, no designer bags, no entourage. When I first read her file, I thought it was a mistake, but her father had insisted on full-time security, even though she didn't party. Apparently, she'd received some weird messages online. Nothing explicit, just unsettling. So the company put me on her. Low risk, easy job, or so I thought. For the first few weeks, I shadowed her from a distance. I sat in coffee shops, followed her to class, trailed her runs through campus. She kept to herself, always wore headphones, carried a notebook, and spent most evenings at the library or this little diner near her dorm. She reminded me of my younger sister, quiet, sharp, and way too trusting. After a while, I started noticing someone else noticing her. A guy, he wasn't a student, mid-30s, always hanging around the same spots she went to. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Then I realized he was following her route. Same buildings, same coffee shop, same bus stops, always a few minutes behind. That's when I knew this wasn't a standard gig. I reported it to the company, and they told me to keep eyes on the guy but not to engage unless there was a clear threat. So that's what I did. For almost 2 weeks, I watched him trail her, getting bolder each day. Sometimes he'd sit near her, sometimes take pictures on his phone. He never approached, but the intent was clear. Then one night, everything went sideways. Olivia was at the diner, sitting in her usual booth. I was 2 tables away, pretending to scroll through my phone. The guy came in, ordered nothing, and sat across from her, just sat there. She froze, looking confused. I could see her trying to figure out if she knew him. I got up immediately, walked over and said, "Hey, Liv, sorry I'm late." She blinked at me, and I gave her the smallest nod, hoping she'd catch on. The guy's eyes darted between us. "You know him?" he asked her. She hesitated, then said, "Yeah, my boyfriend." I said, "We should go." The guy stared at me for a second, like he was sizing me up. Then he smirked and said, "Didn't realize she was taken." He got up and walked out. I walked her outside, kept my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. I told her to get in her car and go home, and that I'd follow behind her. She didn't question it, just nodded and left. I tailed her back to her dorm, made sure she got inside, then circled back to the diner. The guy was still there, standing across the street, smoking, watching. That's when I broke protocol. I walked up to him, said, "You need to stop following her." He just smiled. "You her bodyguard or something?" I didn't answer. He took a drag, blew smoke in my face, and said, "Tell her I'll see her soon." That was enough. I didn't touch him, couldn't legally, but I took a photo of his face and sent it straight to my company and local PD with a report. Turns out he wasn't some random creep. He was a disgruntled former employee of Olivia's father's company. Fired years ago, claimed the family ruined his life. Within 48 hours, they had him arrested for stalking and harassment. Olivia's father called me personally. First time that's ever happened. Thanked me for protecting his daughter. Offered a huge bonus. I took it, but that wasn't the part that stuck with me. A few days later, I ran into Olivia outside her dorm. She came up to me holding a cup of coffee. "So," she said softly, "you really were there the whole time?" I nodded. "That's my job," she smiled, but there was something sad in her eyes. It must be weird, knowing everything about people who don't even know your name. I didn't have an answer for that. Either. We talked for a bit. She told me she'd known someone was following her but didn't want to make a scene. Said she was glad I'd stepped in. Before she left, she said, "Thank you. I know you're supposed to be invisible, but I see you now. I don't know why, but that hit me harder than any paycheck ever has." After that, I started thinking about the job differently. It's not just babysitting. It's not just watching rich kids party. Sometimes, it's the one thin line between safety and tragedy. Since that night, I've taken on fewer clients, more selective jobs, cases that actually matter. I still work for the same company, but now I handle a lot of background investigations and risk assessments. Less nightlife, more actual protection every once in a while. I still see Ethan or Bella around town. They're older now, calmer. Bella's even starting a charity for student safety programs. I like to think maybe she learned something from that night years ago. As for Olivia, she transferred schools, somewhere quieter, back east. Her father sent me a message through the company last month. "She's doing great, thanks again, that's all. This job still isn't glamorous. I'm still the guy in the shadows. The one no one notices, but that's okay. I've made peace with it because sometimes being unseen doesn't mean you're unimportant. It means you're doing your job right." Final update. The night that made me walk away from the job, it's been 3 years since I started writing about this line of work. And a lot has changed since then. When I made that first post about being invisible, just a shadow keeping watch over kids who never knew my name, I thought I'd be doing this forever. It paid well. It gave me purpose, and it scratched that part of my brain that can't sit still. But lately, I've started to realize that the job wasn't just keeping other people safe. It was slowly eating away at me, too. I didn't notice it happening. At first, the signs were small. I stopped sleeping through the night. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and instinctively reach for my phone, checking exits in my apartment building like I was still on a shift. I'd go to a restaurant with friends and position myself where I could see the door. My friends would joke, "Dude, you're still on duty," and I'd laugh it off. But they weren't wrong. I didn't know how to turn it off anymore. The company started taking on more international clients again. Families sending their kids here for college. Some good kids, some nightmares. I'd been doing a mix of field and administrative work, and I kept telling myself I was done with the bar and club circuits. But then one night, my boss called. Said they had a special case. The client was a 21-year-old named Dylan. His parents were old money from New York, but he'd been living in California for school. I was told he'd recently been the victim of a robbery gone wrong. Someone had followed him home from a club, jumped him in the parking garage, and stolen his watch and phone. He wasn't hurt badly, but the parents wanted full coverage for the next few months. It was supposed to be routine. Watch the kid, keep him safe, file reports. From the first night I shadowed him, I knew Dylan wasn't like the others. He was jumpy, paranoid, didn't want to go anywhere without checking over his shoulder. I'd seen trauma before, on deployment, in clients who'd been attacked. But there was something different about him. It wasn't just fear. It was guilt. He'd still go out occasionally, usually dragged by his friends. One of them, a girl named Madison, always stood close to him, protective in a way that felt more sisterly than romantic. She'd glance over her shoulder a lot too, like she could feel the tension coming off him. One Friday night they hit a club downtown. Big place, high ceilings, neon everywhere. I was posted a few tables away, pretending to nurse a drink. Dylan was trying to loosen up, smiling, dancing, even laughing a little for the first time. I thought maybe the kid was turning a corner. Then I saw him freeze. His eyes went glassy, and he started scanning the crowd. I followed his line of sight. And that's when I saw the man. Mid-30s, sharp suit, standing near the bar. Watching him, it was subtle, but I've seen that look too many times to mistake it. The kind of stare that isn't curiosity. It's recognition. I moved closer, radioed the team, got ready in case it escalated. Dylan was shaking now, and Madison was trying to calm him down. I could see her mouth forming the words. "It's not him." But Dylan didn't believe it. He pushed past the crowd and ran toward the exit. I followed. He burst through the side door into the alley behind the club. I caught up, just as he started pacing, muttering, "He's back, I know it's him. He's not done." Before I could say anything, someone else came out of the shadows, not the man from inside. The bouncer. He looked at me, then at Dylan, confused. "Everything okay?" Dylan panicked. He thought it was the guy. He pulled a gun, small one, maybe a .380. Shaky hands. The bouncer froze, hands up. I drew mine immediately, stepped between them, and said as calmly as I could, "Dylan, look at me. You're safe. Put it down." He kept shaking, tears streaming down his face. "He won't stop. He said he'd kill me." Dylan, no one's here to hurt you. The bouncer slowly backed up. Still with his hands raised, my radio was crackling in my ear. My team asking for a sit rep, but I didn't answer. All I could think about was that this kid, this scared, broken kid, was seconds away from ruining his entire life. Finally, he looked at me, his voice cracked. You don't understand. He already did. Then he dropped the gun, fell to his knees and just started sobbing. I kicked the gun away and called it in. The police came, took statements, confiscated the weapon. Turned out the guy inside the club wasn't the attacker at all. Just some random guy who happened to look similar. The trauma had rewired Dylan's brain so badly that any familiar face sent him spiraling. That night I drove home and sat in my car for over an hour. Couldn't even make myself go inside. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not because I was scared for me, but because I realized something ugly. I'd seen versions of Dylan before, not just in my clients, in myself. All those nights watching, waiting, scanning every room for danger. I wasn't protecting people anymore. I was reliving it, feeding it. 2 weeks later, I turned in my resignation. My boss tried to talk me out of it, offered me a desk job. Better pay, fewer hours, but I couldn't do it. I didn't want to be the guy sitting in the corner anymore, living other people's lives in the shadows. Since then, I've been working with a nonprofit that helps veterans transition out of high-intensity careers. Security, law enforcement, military. We help people learn how to live in the world again. It's not glamorous. I make a fraction of what I did before, but I sleep at night now, every once in a while. I still get texts from my old clients. Bella invited me to her wedding. Ethan sent me a photo of his new baby. Olivia mailed a Christmas card last year that said, "Hope you're still watching out for people, even if it's not your job anymore." Funny thing is, I still catch myself scanning crowds sometimes. Old habits die hard, but now it's just instinct, not anxiety. I don't need to be invisible anymore. The world feels different when you finally stop standing guard. And maybe that's the lesson I didn't know I was learning all along. You can't protect everyone forever. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is step out of the shadows, let them live their lives, and start living yours.